Right, hello everyone. I guess the first thing I'm supposed to ask is, can you all hear us okay?
I'm speaking now. Can you hear me okay? Check,
It's like
check,
3 minute delay,
testing,
isn't it?
testing.
So,
Or something like that. Now I'm trying to find this page again where we were the last time where the comments were coming up. Where the hell did that happen now?
it's on my channel. It's on my channel.
On your channel? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, easy to find.
Right, okay, it's looking live for me now.
So, I've got it. Here we go. So I'll click on that and that should be... Right, okay. Right, okay. That's good, that's good. Right, I see it and I see the comments at the side. Right, okay. I'm having Scottish issues. Yes, yes, indeed. Oh.
Sorry, I've just been. I think my headset speaker's buggered.
Maybe Sargon can't hear us. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay, because it's coming out of my laptop, so that's alright.
Okay, okay.
I'm just worried that I'm going to be a bit tinny, but never mind. If I am, I am.
I can still understand what you're saying.
Right, okay. It's going to piss me off, though, you know?
No, I understand. Dead air, don't want dead air. What are you saying here? Loud and clear. Ah, yes, we can hear you good. There's no complaints here. They can all hear.
Right, okay, great.
They can all hear fine.
Cool. So how have you been, man?
Oh, that's good, that's good. Ah, not bad, not bad. Good. Been in a lot of fights on YouTube in the comment section, but nothing unusual about that, you know.
Yeah, I've had some corkers. Yeah, all good, all good. I'm exhausted, to be honest, because I spend all day working and on this game, and so I don't really realize how much I'm doing. And I know it's a consistent complaint from me, but I've got to start making some time for just sleeping.
Does the time fly by when you're doing it?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Actually, it's before I know it, I'm just nodding off.
But you're hoping it pays off anyway, ain't you? Well, it's an RPG, isn't it?
Sorry?
Is it an RPG?
No, it's a sort of tactical game for mobiles.
Oh, right, okay.
But PC is
okay.
But yeah, it's more sort
of. It's not a tower defense, no.
Well, kind of, in a way.
Kind of.
In a way, we'll be doing. We've been putting the Kickstarter money to good use, and it's looking really nice. And that's not me saying, "Oh, I've done such a good job." That's me saying, "This is what money can do," because you can buy the things you need.
Helps.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's yeah. Have you got anything interesting to start us off with then?
Oh, there's been a lot of things I've been kind of collecting throughout the week. Like one of the things, for example, just to start off, was there was an article in the Mail Online coming from a female professor, right? I only say she's a female because that's relevant to the article. But she says that we should stop calling female teachers Miss. You know, we should call female teachers Sir. Demand feminist academics and bid to end sexist culture in the classroom. This woman, who is a professor of, I think she's a professor in English language and linguistics, right? Now you would think a professor of English language would be kinda intelligent, but even the feminist grip, they've got their claws in her so much, so deep that even she's saying that, oh, it's victimization, that, you know, because when she goes to talk to some students, they refer to her as Miss, you know, and they refer to the men as Sir, as if they're knights. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, it was Sir if you were a guy, Miss if you were a woman, end of story. There was no deep meaning to it. It was just that was what you called them. But I think she's actually pissed off that when she's addressing pupils with fellow teachers, she's not being called professor, you know, in order to elevate her above the teachers. I think that's what pisses her off, you know. They just call her Miss just like every other teacher.
Wow,
she tries to claim sexist and demeaning to women to call them Miss, but it's clearly no such fucking thing, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
Call what you are, you know. I mean, Yeah, like you, when I was at school, it was always. I mean, I didn't even call my teachers sir or anything. It was just Mister whatever their name was, surname was, and then Miss or Mrs. whatever the surname was, and then yeah. I suppose probably did call them sir actually, shortened it, but yeah, it was
Or you put your hand up to get your attention or something, sir or miss. Yeah, it's that simple.
And yeah, like you say, it's like she thinks that it's some sort of code name for your lordship. And then
exactly.
For the woman who washes the dishes. I don't know. It's like
I just didn't put any deep meaning into it when I was in school. There's a wee list. There's a wee list in the article as well, and it's going through all the countries: Australia, China, France, Germany, India, and it tells you what they call the teacher there, and it's all very similar. Mrs, Miss, or in Australia it's Miss or Ms or the surname, and in China the surname. In Laoshi and so on, Monsieur, Madam in France, it's all the same, Sir, Madam, Sir, all that.
The feminist must be.
So she's trying to change a universal thing,
Yeah,
but it's not even a problem.
Yeah, it's oppression though. I mean, this is a form of oppression, apparently. I think that's probably what.
That's it. That's exactly it. I mean, there must come a point where these people, I know they want to be a victim, and it's very difficult to be a victim when you're the most privileged group there is. But
when you're a professor, it's not like you haven't had every opportunity.
Exactly.
Now you're on like 50, 60 grand a year,
Exactly. Yeah. But they must look at it at some point. There must come a point where they go, "Okay, I'm just being ridiculous here. Come on." You know what I mean? But where is that point, though? If this was... Sorry, if this was a random blogger, I wouldn't care. But this is a professor. It's ridiculous.
Like Jermaine Greer and all those, ordinarily, yeah, like you say, if it was just a random blogger, I might just take the piss. But when it's like Jermaine Greer or someone, equally, and they are influential, and they're talking to hundreds of people in a packed auditorium, or like the stupid woman who was going on about the hunter-gathering being so wonderful, she's talking to hundreds of fucking students who are in that sort of I'm here to learn frame of mind, and they're just listening to this. Like you say, they've actually got proper authority and influence over these people, and it's fucking disturbing. These people need to.
Well, I don't know. If I was at university or college, I would listen to a professor.
Oh, absolutely.
So to hear a professor spout this nonsense, it's a bit worrying. It's like, come on, you're not there to teach them. Not to tell them that they're victims because they've been called Miss.
Yeah, shouldn't you be talking about Shakespeare or something?
Exactly.
I don't know what English professors teach, to be honest, apart from English in general. But yeah, I'm actually curious as to where the line is. Especially when what I love about this as well is when it gets so like reductive to the most pathetic things, like oh, they called me Miss and I'm offended. Then they start getting to the point where they start infighting. Because it's so ambiguous at this point. Not necessarily with this example, but when you're at this level of it, and this is where they start like infighting because none of them can really agree what they actually want in this circumstance, which is, frankly, I think, good enough reason not to bother.
Right, I know it's a form of victim blaming, right? But I think they're begging to be mocked. They're begging to be ridiculed. These people. And then when people start ridiculing them, they call that bullying, and then they're a victim again. And it's unbelievable, man. Like the woman who wanted to put the women on the banknotes, that was supposed to be her thing, put the women on the banknotes, but what became her thing was getting rape threats, and she only got like 2. It's just...
these rape threats, right? I've never seen one in comment sections on these videos. And I watch quite a lot of these videos because I'm out there looking for things that are stupid to take the piss out of. So, I have to read the comments, and most of them are quite well-reasoned arguments. I think that's stupid because blah blah blah. Whatever. And so I'm actually waiting for some evidence that any threats have been given, any offence has been like deliberately given, rather than just a counter.
But in a lot of them account as rape threats as well. Like if I was to say to you, I hope you get raped, that's not actually a rape threat.
No.
I mean, even though it's still a horrible thing to say, but it's not actually a rape threat, you know. And the people who are genuinely sending real rape threats are so small a minority. We're talking about the type of person who would go into an internet cafe, deliberately start a new account, and then send somebody, you know, I don't know, 24 people rape threats and death threats, and then never go on the account again. And these will count as, oh, bullying online, you know, women suffer online. It's ridiculous. It's just nobody's saying something they know is going to upset somebody, you know.
Hang on, this isn't this Daily Mail one. I found another one on Daily Mail instead. Let me just get it up. Women troll each other online. How females are just as likely to be abused by their own sex as men. The University of Sussex analysed 131,000 British tweets for trolling. 18% of tweets used misogynistic phrases like slut and whores, and a further 12% referenced rape threateningly. So, I mean, it's basically sums everything up. It's, half of it at least is women calling other women these names. You know? It's just like...
There's this article I've got, and it's in an old magazine. I need to find it somewhere, and it was talking about the rise of the cyberbully, women, you know, bullying other women online, you know. But when they talk about bullying online with women, they only seem to talk about it as if it's men that's doing it, and you can't even know. I mean, nobody can be sure that we're men and we're talking online, you know. You can't know who's a man online, but. Ridiculous.
But the thing is, at the bottom of this article, it says previous studies have shown. That's all right. Previous studies have shown that women are more likely to be subjected to online abuse and threats than men. So it's almost. I mean, and the thing is, what annoys me about this most as well is the use of the word trolling. This is not trolling. This is just abuse. This is just insulting someone over the internet. This is not trolling. Trolling is a fucking art. It's the art of giving them enough rope to hang themselves with. And that's
trolling can be fun, professional.
Honestly, I was a troll before the term was even invented. It's about consent. They have to be coming after what you're saying to fall into the trap of looking like a fool,
Are women more victims of this, or do they just complain about it more? Because I get told to kill myself about 3 times a day. I don't complain about that.
Even if they're not more victims of it, then they are more victims of it.
I know.
Well, we don't need to answer that one.
It's interesting, though, that sometimes a lot of these threats are actually women sending rape threats and stuff, so you just can't know. You can't know who's sending them. It's part of freedom of the internet. We need to accept it.
Well, I mean, like all things, women are unable to press the block button. Apart from Sui Park, who actually managed to block me on Twitter, which I was a bit gutted. Yeah, she did. I don't know why. I don't think I actually spoke to her. But
it's obvious why. Dissenting opinion.
Well, yeah, exactly. She probably got PTSD from that. But I tell you what, if you look at her Twitter feed, it's like The Shining. It's like watching someone's descent into absolute madness. And I kind of feel bad for her because she's what, 23, something like that, 23, 24. Sorry, say again.
But she's been mollycoddled her whole life.
Yeah.
She's not went through any hardships.
No, of course not. But the thing is, I mean, when I was that young, I did use the internet, but I don't know. It wasn't. Twitter didn't exist, so I couldn't talk to the whole world and make myself look stupid. And so, like 10 years later, I'm really glad Twitter didn't exist because I would have spoken.
Me as well.
I would have been bloody stupid, And so I really feel bad for like. I do feel for them because in 10 years' time they're going to look back on this and think, Jesus Christ, no, they're not. They should look back and say, I was such an idiot, but they're not going to do that. What am I for? They are not going to fucking mature.
But the rise of Twitter and stuff and the internet and World Star and YouTube, it makes people behave themselves more, you know? Like, there's a football game on right now, right? The Champions League, right? Champions League final. Atletico Madrid's 1-0 up, by the way. Anyway, all around the stadium, they've got these, these electronic advertising boards, you know? And they keep changing what's on them. And one of the things that keeps coming up is no to racism, right? All the way around the football stadium, no to racism. Now, what effect does that really have? I mean, if I was a racist, right, and I'm away at a football game and I've got my bananas to throw at the black players or whatever, right, and I'm going to shout bad things, am I going to see that fucking billboard that says no to racism and think, shit, I better not throw these bananas and shout derogatory remarks at the black players? I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. But I think
it's just like the teach them not to rape, isn't it? There's no one on the other side of this argument, so who are you arguing with? You idiots.
But it's more likely to be technology that puts a stop to this kind of stuff, because people don't want to shout things and be caught and then put on YouTube for the world to see. That's going to have more of an effect than stupid billboards that say "Don't be racist." It's so stupid, man.
I'm literally. It's the sort of thing that you just. It's really difficult to explain to them why it's so stupid, because they think they're doing something good. They think that this. I mean, they must do, because otherwise they wouldn't fucking do it, would they? That's the way I rationalize it. Because, I mean, I look at it and think this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. And this happens on an almost daily basis, which really impresses me, because I think that I was hoping one day I'd get to a point where I'd be like, well, at least that's not the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But it literally is. It's like walking down a flight of stairs and being like, yeah, this is the lowest step I've ever come to. I can see further steps.
Almost every day it gets worse and worse. There's another example. It's worse and worse.
It's absurd, and
that's Jan.
Sorry?
No, on you go.
Oh yeah, I don't really know why the world is cooperating with it. I mean, why are these people given any credit?
It's easier than putting up with all the chattering from them. If you put up with it and accept it, the noise from their mouths gets lower. It doesn't stop. It just gets lower. Whereas if you don't put up with it, it gets louder and louder, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, just give them what they want to shut them up, because they're quite annoying. These people. They really are quite annoying.
They're fucking infuriating, But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why everyone isn't offended at the assumption that they might be a closet racist or sexist or whatever, and I mean, I guess they're all just nodding their heads, going, "Well, that's absolutely true. Yes, that's exactly no to racism. I'm fully behind that." And I don't.
It's too easy as well these days. This is what I hate about it. Like, whether it's being a racist or a sexist or a homophobe, I mean, all you have to do is disagree with somebody, and you've been labelled. And once you've been labelled, you can't possibly disprove. Like, there's no way I can disprove that I don't like gays or that I don't like Chinese people or whatever else. I can't disprove that once I've been accused of it. It's such a weak allegation. It gets thrown out all the time, and then it's usually, oh no, now I need to defend against this rather than stick to the point they didn't want me to speak about. That's what it's all about, changing the subject.
Yeah, it's muddying the water, isn't it? To just obfuscate things so nobody gets to an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I don't. All of this just does my fucking head in, But yeah, you're right. And this sort of label slinging is. I've just got to the point now where whenever someone calls me a racist I mean, no one actually calls me a racist because I don't really talk about racial issues.
Mm-hmm. But, I get it all the time.
Well, I'm sure if I did spend a bit of time doing it, they would, because I'd be on the side of reason and they'd be on the side of emotion. And obviously, the thing I think what they're trying to do is elicit an emotional reaction, so you're on the same playing field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they're very, very, very emotional when they're slinging out these insults. And so I've just got to the point now where I'm like, okay, is there a more extreme position you could take on this subject? You know, I mean, you know, I'm a racist. Okay, well, if presenting this rational argument makes me a racist, right? Okay, that's pretty bad. But all you're going to do then is devalue the word racist, or you're going to need something. Well, you are going to need something that's worse than racist, because now I just don't care. You know,
it's often funny, but I think it's funny some of the reasoning behind what they say. You know, like it was just this morning on a video. I commented on it months ago. I basically said that all people, whatever the colour, should be treated on the same standards, right?
Oh, that's disgusting.
And I know, a terrible way to think, I know, but this black guy came to me today and said that I must, obviously I'm wrong on what I'm saying, because I was brought up in Ohio and I sucked my dad's dick, right?
What?
And exactly, I know. But what I thought was funny was that even if that was true, even if it was true, it still wouldn't have made me wrong. The reasoning is mental, you know. I could have 12 dicks in my mouth. It still doesn't mean what I said was wrong. It's unbelievable. It's funny though. It's always funny. It makes me laugh.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, that's you know, that's an ad hominem, and that's the problem with ad hominem fallacies. Is even if you prove me to be exactly as you say, my argument still stands.
Exactly.
So you know, you still you know, whatever. I'm in the right in that. Even though, I might suck loads of dicks. So that just makes me a perv. I've seen like some people asking us to talk about the recent shooting in Santa Barbara.
Is that the guy that said he couldn't get laid or something?
Yeah, and I mean,
it just happened. I think.
It's just happened. The thing is,
I don't know the name of the guy. Sorry.
I'm
just I don't know the name of it. I don't know. Oh no! Here, wait a minute! I found it. I will slaughter every blonde slut I see. 7 people killed as son of Hunger Games assistant director carries out drive-by shooting in US. I need to open up in another link because of what? Because women rebuffed his advances and he was a virgin at 22. Well, that's the thing. It's like Chris Rock said. Whatever happened to crazy? You know, they've always got to find another reason. Why did this guy shoot and kill, 7 people? Well, because he was crazy. It wasn't because of the video games he played or the music he was listening to or because women didn't want to suck him off. It's because he was fucking crazy, you know? Because when I was that age, women didn't want to suck me off, but you know what I'm talking about? They went all over my cock and I didn't go out and shoot 7 people. You know, there's lots of guys who aren't getting a lot of women attention. They don't go out and shoot. So this guy's crazy. It's nothing to do with women at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know, he's just found something to project his obviously disturbed mental state onto, and you know, in this case, it's the inability to get laid. But the thing is, I find this weird because you know, and I don't want to sound like a gay, but he's quite a good-looking kid. You know, he was obviously. He's quite a handsome.
And he's rich as well, but he's rich as well. I mean, it's the photos it shows you in this. He's got a classic car, it's a BMW. You know, nice car, man.
Exactly. I'm thinking, how the fuck, if this kid can't get laid, I mean, I could get laid when I was 22 and I wasn't as good looking as him, you know, and so it's like, and I didn't have a fucking BMW and my dad wasn't rich, so. Well,
he's posing with a BMW and that kind of makes me think that maybe that's how he thought he could get women, by just having a flash car with no personality, and the women just weren't having that, or maybe the women, because he said he was going to enter the hottest sorority and slaughter the girls inside. So maybe it's just because those particular girls are in fact bitches, and they just, you know, the school shooting type, it's always the same. They've always been bullied or in some way, it's always something, and they just want people to suffer.
This guy doesn't look like he's going to have been bullied though, you know. So I'm just finding this, you know, I mean, I find it strange, just as like a premise. You know, handsome rich kid with, you know, flash car somehow can't get shallow women, and it's like, no, you know, I find that weird. So, I mean, I don't want to get conspiratorial, but it's something that I find very strange, you know, off the bat. But yeah, like you said, there's no other reason. You know, if it is as they say it is, then he's just fucking crazy. You know,
Well, I don't think he would have had a problem getting women, right? Especially shallow women, like you say. I
yeah.
think the problem might be that he can't get women to like him. You
Could well
know,
have been.
it's okay. It's easy to get women to like stuff you have and to like your money. That's easy. But to like you as an individual, that's not so easy. And maybe he couldn't do that. Maybe that's what he's annoyed at. Who knows?
Well, I mean, I think he probably wasn't a very nice person, you know, if he went on a gun rampage either way. So, you know, it must have been that.
But rejection's part of being a man, though, as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know,
it's a big part of being a man. Rejection, in fact, you just need to deal with it. I mean, not every woman's going to want you. You've got to deal with that. I know it's hard, you know. Not every woman in the world wanting you, but hey, you've got to deal with it, you know. God's sake.
Exactly. It's just part of fucking life, you know. I don't even know what would be going through my mind if I was in the sort of mental state where I couldn't bear a rejection from a woman. I mean, Christ, you know, that's if I had a penny, you know.
Well, I've seen a thing on the Prometheist put a thing up on her Google earlier on saying, I wonder if MRAs will use this guy's death. You know, I don't know what she was getting at, but she's probably thinking that because of what he said about women, MRAs will then use that, you know, as some way to slight women. And, you know, but I don't think so. I think the guy's just crazy.
Yeah.
Put that behaviour down to crazy. And he was going to commit suicide and wanted to do it by taking as many people he hated with him as he could. There's a song, I can't remember who sings this song. It's a rap song, and it's called "The Anatomy of a School Shooting," right? And it's really good, right? It's a brilliant song. If you listen to the lyrics, he basically goes through. He is the school shooter, and he's explaining why he does it. You know, right. And not many people want to talk about that because you know, because it's saying that the people who were killed were bad people who kind of had it coming with their bullying and stuff, you know. So people don't want to talk about that, but you know, you've got to think. If you're going to think about it, you can't. There's always a reason, but sometimes the reason is they're crazy.
I think, yeah, I think that's I do think that's the case. I think that, you know, anyone who does do anything like this is evidently crazy. Even if they think they've got good reason, there really isn't a reason good enough to justify going on a shooting spree. You know, I can't think of one. So I would have thought that by definition that makes them crazy. But I think the reason people want to find another reason is because, I mean, that could happen to anyone. You know, just being crazy. There's no outward symptom. There's nothing. Well, I mean, there probably is, but there's no like one thing they could point to.
No.
Say, oh, you know, unless they were like, I don't know, testing the chemical balance of everyone's brains or something, you know, which is probably something they'll do in the future. But yeah, I think that I think one of the reasons they want something is because it's you know, the unknown, isn't it? You know, people want to think that they know, and you know, I think that a known unknown is a lot safer than a faulty known. You know,
but they've got to go for headlines though, so they've got to say it's basically a party boy who couldn't get laid. You know, that makes a better headline, doesn't it? You know,
yeah,
go down that angle of saying that, you know, but
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's, you know, anything they're going to be able to pinpoint really other than he's mental.
No. Unless he was listening to Marilyn Manson records, then we know what it is.
I tell you what, I really like Marilyn Manson's music, but
do you?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I like that sort of rock stuff, but it's, you know, I'm not like I don't like the image. You know, it's just a shock, and I just can't be bothered with that kind of thing. But if you listen to Marilyn Manson in interviews, he's incredibly lucid. You know, he's a very smart guy, and he always defends himself very well when when it's kind of a conservative interviewer saying, "Well, you're a bad influence on kids," and he's just like, no, the parents are the influence.
Yes, that is the parents.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely the parents.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
You're saying here talk about Scotland. Scotland's incredibly boring. Do you really don't want to talk about Scotland? It's fucking dull. Dull as ditch water. If you're talking about independence, no, I'm against it.
I was actually going to ask you about that. What are your reasons for being against it?
There's a few. First of all, I think it's Alex Salmond's wet dream, right? He wants to go into the history books, right? He wants to see, when you mention good famous Scottish people, you might say William Wallace, John Logie Baird. You know, he wants to be in there with Robert Burns, and Alex Salmond. Fuck that, right? No way, right? But it's not that. I've looked at all the reasons, right? I got a thing through the door, actually, that it was an 8-page newspaper type of thing called, it said Yes on it, right? That was the name of it, right? So, voting yes for independence. And I was looking at all these reasons in this thing. I've still got it.
If you've got some, let's get through them. I'd like to hear them.
All the reasons are the same. It's all about money, right? It's things like, if we're independent, single parents will get more money. If you're independent, businesses will get more money. This, that, and the next thing. Money, money, money. We'll have our own oil, which I think is mental, because as soon as we're independent, the next thing you know, a big ship full of Americans will arrive. Oh, here you've got oil. Fuck that.
I
don't need that shit, man.
Well, I think that's the sort of thing that will end up getting heavily contested, because I think part of it is in English jurisdiction areas as well, and corporations.
The thing is as well, it's all about money. But this is one of the reasons. We'll have our own oil, therefore we'll have money. It's all about money, and I'm not going to be bribed into making Alex Salmond's wet dream come true. But anyway, the main reason, right, the absolute main reason I am completely against it, right. First of all, I love being British, right? I love being British, right? That's just something I happen to like. I love being able to take for granted the protection of the British Armed Forces and MI5. The fact that we can take that for granted is what you take all the money you want. I don't want it. I would rather have the British Armed Forces and MI5 looking out for me. That's just me, though.
No, I'm with you.
And if we're independent, we're not going to have a British Armed Forces anymore.
No.
Surely we can't possibly have the British Armed Forces and be independent. That's ridiculous. That would be like, we'll be independent. It's like alimony or something. We'll be independent. And I also don't like Alex Salmond's tactic early on. Right, what he done was he challenged David Cameron to a debate, right? On whether Scotland should be independent, which I thought was fucking bang out of order, right? David Cameron just says to him, it's got nothing to do with me, it's for the people of Scotland to decide, right?
That's a stupid
See, what he wants, this is a horrible trick. It was a horrible trick, because what he wanted, he knows for a fact, Alex Salmond, that if you're Scottish, most people in Scotland are raised to dislike the Tories, the Conservative Party, right? So for me, that's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing, right? That so many people that surround me will never even consider voting Tory. We won't even look at their policies because they've been indoctrinated to hate them so much. Alex Salmond knows this, so he knows that if it looked like he was debating with David Cameron, head of the Tories, asking Scotland to stay, most people in Scotland would go, oh, don't give him what he wants, It was a horrible, sleazy fucking move, and I didn't like it. I don't appreciate that. But no, I'm not interested. It's all about money, and I'm not fucking interested in money. Thank you very much. I'd rather have the armed forces. Sorry to rabble on about that, Sargon. Sorry about that, mate.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. No, not at all. Honestly, I fully agree as well. I think that it's. I think money is the root of all evil. I think I can't think of anyone who would contest that. So to say, look, we're going to try and base the independence of Scotland on the root of all evil, it doesn't sound like a good idea, does it?
No.
So I'd be naturally inclined to say, can we actually have some real reasons?
And also as well, I'm not willing to believe any politician's bullshit when it comes to money. Don't tell me I'm going to be better off when you get your way, and then when I give you your way, I don't. You don't live live up to your part of the deal. This happens with politicians all the time. I don't trust them.
Well, that's the thing. They're all liars. They are professional fucking liars.
And they get away with big lies because they're expected to lie. If that makes sense, it's like, see, when a woman does something bad, they say, "Oh, a woman scorned," you know, as if it's like, "Oh, that's expected." They get away with worse things because, "Oh no, you don't upset a woman." Yeah, it's, "Oh no, when a politician lies." You know, it's like, oh well, it's expected, and it shouldn't be expected. You know?
It's like, sorry, all the recent the claims they were making for their fucking moats and whatnot around their houses and their second houses and stuff like that, and it was just like, okay, well, so they all committed fraud then, did they? Well, don't we have a legal system left? I mean, I think I know what we're gonna do, or I mean, I know what I would do if I was in any power. You know, if I had any kind of power, I'd do what Putin did and fucking imprison the lot. You know what I mean? It's
plenty of people to take their place.
Yeah, exactly.
Plenty of people to take their place. What I found more insulting though was, right, see, there was ones who claimed the money for like a third house, right? Now that's bad enough, but what I found more insulting was the ones who used it to get like a packet of munchies out the shop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, you can't even buy yourself a fucking bar of chocolate. You've got to use fucking taxpayers' money for that shit, man. That's more insulting, even though it's a small thing.
That's like 60p or whatever. You just tight-fisted misers. You know,
surely they must be able to afford that.
But another thing about that really offends me as well, right, is how fucking mundane it is. I mean, you know, when you look at like American or Russian corruption, it's big stuff. You know, it's you know, millions and millions of dollars. It's huge. It's the sort of thing that's high impact. You know, when it's found out and stuff. And then our ones are just, oh, what happened? Well, he charged the taxpayer 5 or 20 quid for dinner. And it's like, oh, well, that is wrong, but it's also pathetic.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather not put that on TV because it makes us look stupid. You know?
Hey, what a proper scandal. A real scandal.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
Like we had in the 80s with the politicians being found with fucking women's underwear on and stuff, you know? That's some real scandals.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get that now.
No, well, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, they're raised as little conformists these days. I'm using the word conformist a lot recently, and it kind of pisses me off, but it's the only real accurate way I can describe, like, how I'm seeing everyone.
Everyone around you.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone in the media. I mean, I've abandoned a couple of the history forums I go to just because they're not prepared to. They're not. I mean, like with this thing with like Ukraine, Russia has played it very, very well. And the only thing that, I mean, like with the Prince Charles thing saying, oh, Putin is comparable to Hitler, it's like, well, technically that's true because, you know, he is doing similar things to what Adolf Hitler did, except Putin is far wiser. And I've kind of forgotten where I'm going with this now. but yeah, I don't know.
Did you see the video of Putin asking for his pen back? Did you see that one?
No, what was that?
The video is on YouTube. It's called Alpha as Fuck, and it's President Putin, and he's at this meeting, right? He's at this meeting, and it's all these kind of business owners, right? And they're treating their staff like shit, right?
Yeah.
And he's sitting at the head of this table, and he's going, right, come on, I want you all to sign this agreement. If you don't sign it, I'll pap yous all out and get yous replaced, right? And he goes through all the signatures, and he looks at this one guy, says, have you signed this? And they said, yes. I don't see your signature on it. Sign it. And he just puts it down, and the guy then gets up, signs it, and walks away with his pen. And Putin goes, hey, give my pen back. And the guy, it's obviously, this guy's like in charge of a lot of people, but he's being embarrassed in front of everyone because Putin's just going, no, I'm in charge here. Give me my pen back. It's class, man. It's pure class.
But I've got such respect for the man. Honestly, he is a genuine leader. You know.
I'm sure he makes a lot of decisions that you wouldn't like, but that's what leaders do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything he's doing is for the benefit of Russia. That's the thing. You know. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're like Rokerful and you hate Russia, then that's a bad thing. But I don't care about Russia really. You know, I think that they've been really far down for a long time, and they don't really deserve it. They are a great power, and they will rise again. So we may as well come to an agreement with them rather than come to a war with them.
Mm-hmm. It'd be scary in a war.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be scary in a war.
How fair are the elections in Russia? I mean, is it a fair system? I mean, because they keep putting Putin in, so they must like the guy, you would guess, if it was.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. His ratings are about. I think the last one I saw was like 63%, which sounds like a fair election because it's not so overwhelming. You know, it's not like, it's not some sort of Arab dictator where he gets 100% of the vote. I mean,
it's not North Korea. It's not like North Korea where he rules until he dies. Basically, he can be replaced. I don't know how.
Hasn't he? They can only have 2 consecutive terms, and
right. And they come back after that and do another 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing. Putin's very concerned with legality. You know, and it's the only weapon he's got as well. You know.
I always figured that was one of America's.
I just want to address Rockefeller quickly. And I'm not trying to justify the actions of Russia pre-Putin. I'm not. Russia, like any state, has done terrible things. You know, but they all have. I mean, the United States is built on genocide. You know, Britain's colonial empire, in a large part, was built on genocide. Every country has done this. So it's. You know, saying, "Oh, Russians did bad things in Eastern Europe." Yeah, well, who hasn't? So, you know, and it's not like Putin himself is actually, like Hitler. If he just doesn't commit any genocides, he's going to go down as a great man. Sorry, I just wanted to.
That's all right. It's a Christian, though, isn't it? It's a Christian country.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Orthodox.
Russia. Yeah.
And that's really they are. They're quite conservative as well, which is really the anti-gay sort of sentiment comes from.
The anti-gay thing, that's right. There was a big deal about that during the Olympics. George Takei kept going on and on about it, man. I actually got a reply from him, so I did on Facebook.
Oh, did you?
Because he was going on about that. He was saying it was some law that said you can't wave flags saying you're gay in Russia during the Olympics, right? And he said it was out of order, and I just said, well, why does anybody want to let everybody else know what they prefer to do in the bedroom?
Yeah, why?
At a sporting event, why would they want to do that? And he said to me, because heterosexuality is seen as normal, and they just want to be seen as normal as well. And I thought, well, waving a flag around saying that you prefer what your sexual preferences are, it's hardly going to make you normal, is it? That's not going to make you accepted by society as normal.
Yeah. It's weird. I wouldn't want to voice it where it's not appropriate. You know?
I mean, I can understand friends and family and stuff. I understand telling people, but it's the being loud and everybody. It's like it's as if they have to get this validation from everybody, even if it's not their business, you know. And it's like I don't care, you know. I just don't care what you do with your genitals. I don't care. It's like, what was her name? Ellen Page. What was her name? That actress that came out as a lesbian. I can't remember what her fucking name is, but
Ellen. Yeah.
But it's like, why is she publicly telling everybody what she does with her genitals? I don't care.
She's got nothing else. That's why. That's the thing. I think that her entire persona is based on her being a lesbian, isn't it?
Well, so she wants to be judged like that.
Yeah. What else has she got? You know, I think that might be true for quite a lot of people these days. You know, they've joined some movement, and now this consumes all their time. And it's just like, okay, well, if you spent less time talking about being gay and more time doing what you wanted, you'd probably worry about it a lot less, you know? You wouldn't consider yourself to be oppressed when people tell you to shut up about how gay you are.
I watched an interesting clip the other day about, you know, Arsenio Hall. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't know.
He was in Coming to America. The black guy's got an American talk show. Anyway, he was doing his show, and there was a a couple of gay guys protesting at his show in the crowd, shouting at him because he doesn't have gay guests on his show, right? And Arsenio Hall just went crazy, man, and he started shouting at these guys, and he said that he's had plenty of gay people on his show, but not everybody who's gay wants to tell everybody else about it. You know, you just not known that they're gay because, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a good point. That was a really good point. Just because somebody's not on the show shouting about what they do in the bedroom doesn't mean they're straight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, these are people who have got other things to talk about than their sexuality. So
exactly.
That's what they do, isn't it? You know. But yeah, I watched The Amazing Atheist did a good video the other day where he basically analysed what it is social justice warriors actually want. And I think he's right when he says that what they're after is universal acceptance, which is a fucking pipe dream. I mean, I can't imagine getting universal acceptance for being a straight white guy, you know. And if I can't get universal acceptance for something that's pretty normal in the Western world, how the hell are they going to get acceptance universally for being some sort of transgender, whatever they are, you know?
And what do they get from it anyway? What do they actually get from it? If everybody goes, oh, you're a transsexual, right, okay, what do they get from that? You know, I think that it's what they don't want. They don't want to be accepted because then nobody will see them as unique and different and special, you know. So if they say they're a transsexual, they'll be like, so am I, I'm one as well. It's not a big deal anymore. They want it to be a big deal. That's why they keep going on about it.
But it's like they want everyone to stand around and give them a standing ovation for it. You know, they bravely say, I'm a transsexual, and everyone just stops what they're doing and just round of applause, and it goes on for like 5-6 minutes, and you know, and then what? You know, what exactly do you guys want? You know, I mean, I would be happy to do that because I would be quite happily laughing and clapping ironically at how stupid they fucking are. So,
if they make a big deal about something like that, I think a lot of the time it's so that that's the thing that gets picked on when somebody's disagreeing with them, and then they can say, so for example, somebody says, I'm gay, and then when somebody's disagreeing with them says, oh, go away, you cocksucker, oh, he hates gays, you know, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I don't hate gays, I call straight people cocksuckers, for God's sake.
Oh, no, that is the most extreme position they could take. You hate all gay people now because you called someone a dick or a cocksucker or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's this kind of extremist thinking that really bothers me, you know, because like you say, I mean, you can't have any sort of constructive debate without them muddying the bloody waters.
But do these people exist? See the people that really hate gays and really hate blacks or really hate women, do they really exist? And if they do, how small a number are these people, you know?
Well, I know that there are definitely people who really hate men, and they exist on Tumblr. So I can only assume that there are people who really hate women and who really hate. I mean, there probably are people who really hate gays, and they're probably fundamentalist Christians because I don't know. I think they're probably threatened by it or something, you know.
Well, but they've got, when you give a group of people a legitimate reason to hate or mistreat people, that give them that power, they'll abuse it. And with the Christians, they can always go to the Bible and say, no, homosexuality is wrong. Look, it says it in my book. So they think they've got the moral high ground to, you know, say what they want and do what they want and treat them how they want. But for me, hatred would have to be like for example, say you're the type of person who hates women, right? Then for me, that would mean you'd be watching a movie and going, oh no, there's women in this movie. Oh, I'm not fucking watching that. You know what I'm saying? It's like you'd have to really hate the people. But yeah. I don't think people like that exist. Who exists like that? You know, I'm not watching that film. There's a black actor in that. Who is like that?
I can't imagine it. I can only imagine people saying that about white men. That's the thing. You know, I can completely imagine the kind of people who will say, I'm not watching that. It's got a straight cisgendered man in it, white man. But like you say, but I can't imagine someone saying, no, there's got a black. Well, I mean, maybe there are racists who are like, no, I don't want to watch someone with a black guy.
Maybe, but
there must be such a small percentage of the population, though.
Exactly, there must be. There really must be. They're certainly not in any control or power, But,
well, God, yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying it in public either. That's the thing. I mean, you couldn't actually be overtly racist in public without people saying, look, that's out of order. And, rightfully so.
No, well, that was it. Just the other day, Julie Andrew, I was going to make a video on about this woman, right? It's Julie Andrew, it was at a TED Talk, right? And it's this heavy-set black woman, right? And she's telling this fucking story about she's sitting on a train, right? And she's sitting next to this guy. She doesn't say he's white, but he's white, right? Yeah. And she says that she kind of tutted because he's had his legs open and was taking up a lot of room, right?
Oh my God!
And apparently he turned to her and just shouted on a busy train, fuck off, you fat black bitch, something like that, right? And she said, and people didn't even say anything, they just laughed. Now, there's no way that would happen. 2014, somebody just shouts that at a black woman on a train and everybody just laughs. There's nowhere I can imagine this happening anywhere in the world. But I commented on it and I said, that's pure bullshit, there's no fucking way that happened. And she commented back to me and said, well, it did, and you weren't there, so you don't know. And it's like, well, I don't have to be there. I know what people are like. There's no way somebody can shout at you on a busy train that you're a fat black bitch and nobody's going to say something about it. There's just no way.
But not only that, it's not that they're just being silent either. They're being complicit in it by laughing at her.
Mm-hmm.
They all now agree with him because they found him funny and she's being the target of the laughter. So, yeah, exactly. Even if he did do that, they certainly weren't all laughing at her because of it.
No way. And the only way I could possibly believe this random man existed and done this was if she sat down first and went, get your fucking cracker white peckerwood legs out my fucking way. Do you know what I mean? And then he's went, whoa, fuck you, you fat black bitch, or something like that. But I really don't see that. I can't. It's unthinkable. I mean, if I imagine if this happened here where I live, that this man would be surrounded by people, men wanting to punch him and women wanting to scream at him. It's unthinkable.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just that I'm in a very PC first world country, but I can't ever picture that happening. It's unreal.
No,
it's unrealistic. That's the thing. I did have a really good trigger warnings link that I wanted to talk about, but I fucking lost it.
Trigger warnings, that's just unbelievable, man. It should just be, if you're a faggot, don't watch this,
It was the best thing as well, because it wasn't, it was a list, and the one that really stood out to me of this list, I mean, they're all, petty things, but the best one that stood out was rape denial, or something like that, or rape apologism or something like that. And I'm like, is that really how trigger warnings work? I would have thought that you'd been triggered by the rape part, not the apology part. It's like, oh no, apologies, someone defending something, that's my trigger. It's the rape you're
But this is a real thing though.
Oh, it's fucking
the trigger warnings are like a real thing, The only thing I would ever want any warning for is like like graphic content, like blood and guts and stuff like that, but you usually get plenty of warning, you get plenty of warning for stuff like that, but words, you shouldn't have to, that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
because you should put it on everything then.
Yeah, they're not even like, they're not like colloquialisms or anything like that. They're the proper names for things. If someone was raped, that's not slang. That's the word for it. And so,
although it has become slang for other things, though.
Yeah, I mean,
rape has become slang for other things.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. But even when it's being used in another way, like if I beat you in an online game, and I'm shouting at you, that's me just raped you, obviously I'm not talking about actual rape, but people take that and then use it and say, see, people just use rape as a, this is part of rape culture, but yet you're not actually talking about rape. It's
there was that thing, wasn't there, at a game conference, a game sort of showcase a couple of years ago now, I think it was, where this woman and this guy were playing this beat-up game on like this enormous screen with thousands of people watching. And they had headsets, so everyone could hear them. And he was like, "Oh, you like that, don't you?" Because he was kicking her ass, obviously. And she was like, "No, I don't like that." And he was just like, "Yeah, let it happen." And I mean, you knew where it was going to go when he was doing it, but it was just so fucking funny. And yeah, obviously, the social justice warriors were clutching their chests, going, "I can't breathe." That's so obvious about rape, and it's like, well, kind of, but she's getting beaten to death because she's shit at that game. So shut up. It's called trash.
Was she participating in the joke as well?
Oh no, not at all. She was completely hating every second of it, I think. And she was complaining that she didn't know how to do it, and he was like, "Why didn't you practice then?" It's just like, she's got nothing. She's like, "I don't know." So, I don't know. So, but yeah.
Well, women in games. Chaswald sent me on Facebook earlier, just before this started, compulsory chess for schoolgirls. Will schoolgirls master the men's game of chess? Apparently, not a lot. By the age of 12, most girls drop out of chess while the boys carry on. So now they're giving them, they want to give them compulsory chess for schoolgirls, And it's once again, it's just simply they cannot accept that girls are not interested in chess as much as boys are interested in chess. They can't accept this.
I love how fascist it is as well. You will do it. It's going to be mandatory for you to sit there and play fucking chess now. I mean, sorry, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's just.
No, it's alright, but it's totally out of line, though. It's like, hey, why can you not just let them do what they want to do? Is it because they presume as well that all of these girls are going to go and do the same thing? But they don't think one might be a housewife, one might be a DJ, one might want to be a fire person. They don't even think like that. They just think, oh, well, hang on a minute here. And they always do that thing where they say there's not enough. Like, oh, there's not enough women.
Yeah.
What do you mean there's not enough? They're allowed to do it. They're choosing not to do it. How does that mean there's not enough? That means there is exactly enough, because there's nothing stopping them from doing it. So there's always exactly enough. There's enough female politicians because the ones that are choosing to do it are there.
Well, that's the thing. They think that they are convinced that enough is at least equal number of women to men, which I'm all for because, like in Turkey, there were no women killed in that collapsed mine. So
no,
absolutely. I mean, I am. If we're gonna, if I was given the option, I would say yeah, absolutely. We'll have 50% women in every job.
So how many was that died in that then? Was that 300? Was that really 300?
250, 300 people. Yeah, or men. Sorry.
Sake, man. No, people. You're right. It's people. They're not men. Men don't count.
Well, people. Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the way I automatically want to describe them, just as people, But no, they weren't. They were men because, yeah, exactly. No one really gave a shit. It was like
I remember the one. I remember the one with do you remember the Chilean miners? They all got out. This was a few years ago. They were all trapped underground. And what were the media talking about? They were all men, but what were the media talking about? They were talking about that the wives. Yes, some of them were having an affair. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, man, these guys might die. Why don't you give them a break? Do you know what I mean? For fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Or some of them are having affairs, but they're coming out. We're getting cheered. It's like fucking Jeremy Kyle. They're getting booed when they come out the mine. Boo! You cheated on your wife. Boo! Great, man.
They were probably called for just to be left down there.
Probably.
It's ludicrous.
But it's shit the way. It's just because it is just down to gender. Take the whole. Is it Boko Haram? That's the name of that group in Nigeria.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they kill all those boys, and it's boys. And it's in the hundreds. Man Woman Myth made a good video about it.
I'll have to check that out, yeah.
Humanity Bites, sorry. It is Man Woman Myth, but it's under Humanity Bites. And the video's called Bring Back Our Boys. And it's in the hundreds of boys that have been killed, either burned alive, blown up, shot, throat slit. not a fucking word from Kanye West and fucking whoever else, whatever celebrities doing the rounds, not a word. But then I don't really want to blame them, because it's the media that are giving us this information, and it's the media that thought, okay, it's just boys, fuck that. And in a racist kind of angle, they might have even thought, okay, it's just black boys in Africa, who gives a fuck, you know? And as soon as girls were kidnapped, not hurt, but kidnapped, the whole world is up in an uproar. Hey, bring back our girls. And it's just like, okay, I understand, bring back our girls. Obviously, you want to support them, but not a peep, not a fucking word about all those boys. Not a word. That's how much we are worth. You know,
I can't imagine any more positive proof that girls are more important than boys in the Western world. You know, I can't. I mean, what else would you need to prove it? You know?
No, they've done it before with the food aid. A few years ago, they were doing food aid at it was an earthquake or something, and they were taking aid to this place, and only women were allowed to go and get the food. They didn't hand the food out to any men. Seriously, they didn't hand the food out to any men. And the reasons they gave for this was because the men, unlike the women, wouldn't share it between their family. You know, and this just put the women at risk, because then the men started robbing the women that were going to get the food. See?
As if the men aren't going to share it with their family.
But as if women are. As if women are just automatically, oh, well, I'll share it with everybody. I'll make sure everybody's fed before I'm fed. As if that's what all women are like.
Any fucking women are like.
But they've done this kind of shit before. They don't care about men. They don't care about boys. They just don't care if it's... And it cancels out all their bullshit about women and children, because those boys are children, and they didn't give a fuck about them. Didn't give a fuck about them.
But like you say, you know, they're black African boys. They don't care. You know, that's patently obvious. They just don't give a fuck. And I mean, I think it's, and the same sort of things happened in like Congo and Rwanda. You know, the men in those genocides basically. I mean, the women might not be killed, but the men are definitely going to die.
No.
You know, and they're definitely going to die.
Yes, the men are going to die. I mean, the women are going to will be raped and all that. They're not going to have a good time, but they're not going to die. But and also as well, in places like that, we're talking about like 12, 13, 14-year-old boys are given an AK-47 and told, right, go and fight, kill and die, you know, for some cause that you don't even know anything about, you know, and then shouldn't you be giving them Lego? You know what I mean? No a fucking gun.
Yeah.
Christ.
I know, I mean, you know, it's. But again, no one cares as long as it's boys dying. You know,
no,
as long as it's males,
they don't care.
No one cares, and men are just as complicit in this, you know, because they're the ones who are not giving a fuck. Because if there's one thing that can be shown, it's that the feminist sort of controlled areas of the media, which I think there are quite a lot of, to be honest, these days. Even if it's not overt feminist control, it's about the fear of a backlash from feminists on Twitter.
Yes.
And I find that baffling. I'd be like, what are they going to do? Whine? Well, let them fucking whine then. You know, in fact, that helps you get more people to hear what you're saying. You know?
But that whining might convince normal women who are, yes, I'm going to be misogynist, they are quite gullible. And when these women keep, you know, normal, decent women might actually believe them. You know, if they hear this constant bullshit coming from them all the time, and so say for example, you get an advert on TV and it shows you a man getting stabbed in the face, you know, and everybody laughs, right? But put an advert on TV where a woman, you know, picks up the wrong product or something, and the feminists will go all over that, and as you say, they'll go on Twitter and they'll go on their blogs and, hey, this company, Coca-Cola, say they show women. And Coca-Cola then think, oh, fuck's sake, we don't need this. So they just show the man as the butt of the joke, because we're not going to complain and, you know, convince all other men that Coca-Cola hates men, because most men would go, I don't care.
Yeah, it's not me. You know, that's. No. I think that's the fundamental thing, isn't it? You know, women seem to see these things on TV and think of it as a representation of themselves, whereas I see men on TV and I see other individuals who are not me. And therefore, I don't have to feel responsible for what they're doing. That's why it doesn't bother me.
I think that's why I think that's why they always defend horrible actions of women.
Oh.
You know, like if a woman, maybe she kills a child or something like that, and they'll come up with these excuses. Oh, she didn't know what she was doing, or she'll kill her husband, and oh no, maybe she was suffering from years of abuse. It's as if they're thinking that they're being judged as well, along with that woman, you know, so they have to justify what that woman done so that they don't look bad. And it's like, ladies, we're not judging you, we're judging the individual who done it, not you.
Yeah, it's such a, honestly, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because it's something that just pisses me off, and I see it everywhere. There was one that I don't know how it got to it, but it was on the Daily Mail website, and some woman had murdered someone. And it was the first comments were just like, that poor woman. You know, I wonder what happened to her to make her do that. And then, you know, I saw another one. Oh, no, there was the guy who killed his abusive girlfriend after she smashed up his Lego collection or his Star Wars collection or something like that. And this guy...
I think I remember that,
Yeah, he'd contacted, you know, like abuse telephone lines and stuff like that, saying, look, my wife is being emotionally abusive to me. She's doing it constantly, all this sort of stuff, and yeah, eventually he snaps and kills her, and you know, and then he's like, look, you know, I it was just too much, you know, all that sort of thing, and the comments were like, that poor woman, and it's like, that poor woman, did you miss the fact that she's going out of her way to make his life hell, you know? And it was just like,
somebody's
fucking does. And I've read ones the other way around where, you know, there was some woman who her boyfriend beat her every day, and then one day she stoned in the back of his head with a hammer, and everyone's just like, oh, that poor woman, you know, he must have been awful. And it's like, no, it is exactly the same situation here, exactly the same, and it fucks me off. It really fucks me off. This does. Sorry, this really pisses me off.
No, I understand. I mean, it's okay, but it's the way, you know, it'd be different the other way around. That's what's, you know, like if I murdered a woman tonight, nobody would try to justify that. Nobody. It's like, I'd just be a murderer. End of story. You know. Or somebody's saying here, right? So I want to comment on this, right? Codester Productions is saying, when he says girls, it sounds like ghetto, right? Now, I'm not joking. About 6 people have commented on my videos saying that when I say girls, it sounds like ghettos, you know? Now, I've said it over and over again to myself, and I think it's like, see if you were like in a black ghetto in America, right? Yeah. I think when I say girls, it sounds like ghettos. Ghettos. So that's been said quite a few times.
Maybe it's just American.
Ghettos, where I says.
Maybe it's just the American here, because it just sounds like you're saying girls to me, because ghetto's got the T's in the centre. So I'm not hearing it, but
no.
You know, but I mean, hey, you know, if that's what they're saying, then you've got a funny accent, mate.
No, I know. But somebody asked you in your video talking about this hangout. Somebody did ask that. Who was it? Now, somebody had a question from me and you, and the question from me was about my accent. I'm just trying. Here we go. It's Robert Graham. Do you think much of your success can be attributed to the fact that a Scots accent sounds absolutely delightful when filled with unfettered frustration against humanity? Well, I think the word success is an exaggeration, but I do think my accent has helped a wee bit, but I would also like to think what I say is okay as well, you know. But a lot of people do like that accent.
When I started watching your videos, it was quite a while ago now that I started watching your videos, and the accent heightened the experience, definitely.
Really?
I mean, what you were saying, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you were saying was spot on. You know, it was, you know, exactly what I was thinking about the stupid thing that you were criticizing. But the accent is what made it really funny, because I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just a good accent to do that sort of thing with. I think it's just because it's unusual. You know, I mean, very few people in the world are Scottish, so I guess it's and it's quite a distinct accent, isn't it? So, you know, I
think the things I talk about as well, I think because I've got a different accent from the norm, as in American or English speaking, you know, I think it lets people know that, hang on, this bullshit isn't just here, it's everywhere, you know, when they hear all different accents talking about the same bullshit. It certainly doesn't do any harm. I've never heard anybody say they don't like my accent, but I do speak more clearly than I would normally speak when I'm doing this, you know. Because I know nobody would understand what I'm saying if I was to speak the way I normally speak.
Yeah, I've been to Scotland, and when the Scots normally speak to each other, I can't understand a bloody word of it. It's
totally like we've got a lot of...
I went to climb Ben Nevis a few years ago, and my first trip to Scotland, I'm well aware of how English I sound, and so I was a bit worried, to be honest, because you know, I've had lots of dealings with other Scots, and I've been called an English bastard plenty of times because, you know, there's a long history, and it's fine because ultimately England always won, so I kind of had that trump card, you know. I'm not trying to be a dick, but when I went up there, I was genuinely worried that, you know, I'd start speaking in my English accent and then I'd get some sort of shit for it, you know. But I tell you what, everyone was so goddamn nice. You know, it was. I was almost taken aback by how friendly everyone was. No one even blinked at the fact that I wasn't Scottish when we started talking to them. You know, they didn't care, just didn't care. And you know, it must just be like an internet thing, like, you know, what Anita Sarkeesian gets, because, you know, I was honestly under misconceptions when I went up there. Yeah, I mean, is there a lot of like anti-Englishness up there? Maybe they were just all being really.
I would say no. It's more friendly banter, and it's more football related. You know, there's a lot of stereotypes. You know, like well, I'll give you an example of one, right? And I can be proven right. I think in the next 2 weeks, right? England are in the World Cup. Am I right?
I don't know. I'm not actually a football fan.
I think they are. I'm not as much a football fan as I used to be. I've lost interest in it a few years ago. I believe they are. Well, all you need to do is watch the first game they're involved in, right? Listen to the English commentator, right? It's 2014, right? And I fucking guarantee, probably within 30 seconds of the kickoff, the English commentator, will mention 1966. I know. Fucking guarantee it. And,
I am so
and it's great. History was made. It's great, right? But there's a certain point where it's like, yes, you can shut up now. It was in black and white. It wasn't even in HD colour, for Christ's sake. That's how far back ago it was. That's how long ago it was. You know, and it's just like, there comes a point where it's like, all right, we fucking get it, you know. But to me, it's all banter. It's definitely all banter. Yes, I know. Yeah. And when you consider Uruguay, I think they've won it twice before England. Really? You know, so it's not really that. It's good. They had home advantage, you know, and they totally deserved it, by the way, because you get a lot of shit up here about, but the ball didn't cross the line. Okay, but it would still have been 3-2 then. So they still won. But either way,
well, that's good.
I like that. I like the fact that they won. It was quite good, the way they won it and stuff. It was quite good. It was exciting, you know. But way before my time. That's what I mean. It's way before my time, and people still fucking talk about it like it was yesterday. You know, those days are gone.
You know, my dad was a child when it was happening, so it's like. But to be honest with you, I kind of pray that England never win it again because, fucking hell, you know, I'll never hear the end of it. And it just does.
It would be, if they won it again, it would be bad news for every other England team after it, because it's, you know what the press are like. You know, they just hound them.
Yeah.
One bad result, need a new manager. One bad result, we need a new manager. Don't care that it's a friendly. You know,
that's unreal. That drives me crazy as well, because it's it's this kind of you know, he's made one mistake, and it's like, what, you saying you never made a goddamn mistake? Was everything going so great before you took over? You know, it's this kind of short-sightedness. You know, you need to build.
Well, I think Terry Venables was right when he said that everybody thinks they know how to run the national team and the country better than who's already doing it. I think that's true. Everybody does think that. They know better.
Well, I don't know about the football team, but I'm pretty sure I could run the country better.
Oh God,
yeah.
aye.
Oh, yes. I'll tell you, that thing with Alex Salmond challenging Cameron to a debate was a really politically silly move because, like you said, Cameron was
On
just
whose part? On Alex Salmond's part?
oh yeah,
On
absolutely.
Alex Salmond's part, you mean?
Yeah, it's retarded because it just sets Cameron up to score a point. Cameron could just say, "Well, that's up to the Scottish people." I respect their right of self-determination. And suddenly, Alex Salmond just looks aggressive, and he's made David Cameron look reasonable and on the side of the Scots. It's like, why would you do that, you blundering idiot? I mean, basically, just ask yourself: would Vladimir Putin have done that? And if he wouldn't have done, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. He wouldn't have if from Alex Salmond if he was Putin. No, he wouldn't have done that. No, but then I don't think he'd be. It's this whole independence thing. Where we are right now, there's really no need for it. Do you know what I mean? There's no need for it. There's nothing to gain from it. There's nothing. It's pointless. It's completely pointless. I don't know what anybody has against being British. But.
I think that there's this romanticised sort of thoughts about the independent Scotland, isn't there? It's almost like a religion now, isn't it? Or at least that's how it kind of comes across. When it gets down here, it's like the sort of Braveheart mentality, and it's just like, films aren't real, don't you?
I know. Even that was historically inaccurate as fuck. Fuck's sake, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's full of it. And ironically, they made Longshanks look like a badass. He's meant to be the villain, and I'm there cheering when he's on screen.
What one played Longshanks again? Was this what was the? Are you talking about Braveheart the film?
Yeah.
Braveheart the film, yes.
Was Patrick?
That wasn't the King. No.
Yeah, the King.
The King, the guy that's always in Colombo. Oh, he was top class. Aye.
Oh yeah,
I liked him. He was really good.
Yeah, he was like a terrifying.
The problem with Scotland. The problem with Scotland is it's full of Scots. What a line! That's fucking brilliant. That. It's a brilliant line. That.
That is a really.
He was a good character. Him. I liked that.
Yeah. And the thing is that what kind of annoys me about it is, Robert the Bruce is a much more impressive historical figure than William Wallace. I mean, he was actually successful, whereas William Wallace won one battle and then got his army killed, and then was on the run until another Scottish guy sold him out to the English, and then he was killed. And so I don't know why.
Folklore helps.
Sorry.
The folk tales, the folklore, it all helps. It all adds to the mystery of it. Makes it sound more interesting, but
But I might actually do a history video on Robert the Bruce, because he's one of those guys where, I mean, he was fucking heroic. He was genuinely an excellent leader, and he achieved a lot of his objectives along the way. I can't remember exactly how his life ended, but it's one of those things where that should have been
1314, wasn't it? Battle of Bannockburn. Is that right? Aye. The Battle of Bannockburn, 1314, I believe. Yeah, I think that was right anyway.
Yeah. I'll have to. I'm just going to look it up quickly, just because it's been a while since I've read about it.
We got it in history in school. It's just 1314's rammed into our heads in school. Yeah,
that's it. Because the English army is way bigger than the Scottish army, and Robert just smashed them, But the problem is it was Edward II who was. I mean, he was really well portrayed in the film Braveheart because he was a little Nancy boy, and Edward I was not, and so it's. I mean, there's reasons for it. I'm not trying to undermine Robert the Bruce's victory, because it was obviously a very difficult thing to achieve, and he deserves all the credit in the world for it. But he wouldn't have gained that victory against Edward I because the army size was just too disparate. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling off on a history tangent and stuff.
You should do it if you think it's an interesting topic. You should do a video on it. Yeah,
I think I will, because he's probably my favourite Scottish leader, to be honest. Bruce, and I think it's more because he doesn't get the recognition he deserves. But I think I will.
Apparently, I'm from his clan. We got the thing in school that tells you what clan you're from, and I'm from the Bruce. The Bruce clan. My name comes under the clan, apparently.
Right, okay.
So I'm supposed to wear the Bruce tartan. If I have to wear tartan, I'm supposed to wear the Bruce tartan.
What colour is the Bruce?
I'm not actually sure what that looks like. I've no idea. It could be green, red, or blue. I really no idea. It was the Bruce clan. That's what I got in school anyway. But which was cool because it was Robert the Bruce. But there's thousands and thousands, so it's really no big deal.
Yeah, it's an entire clan. It's not like it's a family unit or something. So, there was I suppose we're getting on in time. So should we go through some of the questions that people have left for us?
Alright, go for it. Right.
Okay. Go for it. I'll start at the beginning. Actually, I'm going to go grab a drink very quickly because I've run out of tea.
Okay. Is it the questions that are on the Hangouts video? I'll have a wee look in, right?
Yeah. If you want to just go through a few, I'll catch up with you in 2 minutes. Okay.
Right, well, he's away. I'll tell you about the other night. I was raping this woman, right? And she said to me, please, she said, please, think of my children. The kinky bitch. I couldn't resist that. Let's see here. Over there, 8 British time. What was school like for you, Mr. Jarth is asking. School was just, I was the class clown in school. I didn't pay attention. Not as much as I should have. But I don't really regret it because I had more fun in school and I learned more out school than I did in school. What were your beliefs coming out of school, and have much, if at all, have they changed? No, I don't think my beliefs have changed actually. To be honest, I've always been very sceptical of everything. I always question everything until I'm satisfied with the answer. So no, I've not changed much there. If you read Dawkins' Postmodernism Disrobed, which is a review of Intellectual Imposters, do you think, oh for Christ's sake, who fucking wrote this? Richard Dawkins himself? God's sake, man. Do you think this goes some way to explain the modern feminist movement as a byproduct of postmodern philosophy? If not, what? Do you know what? I can't make head or tail of what that's supposed to say. See these big words, man, I swear to God.
Which comment was that?
If you read Dawkins' Postmodernism, it's the Well Good Games. If you read Dawkins' Postmodernism Disrobed, well, I haven't read that, so no. I really haven't got the first clue. Sorry, man, I haven't got the first clue. What is your view regarding the end of female reproductive advantage by criminalising sperm banks and simply getting rid of them altogether? I don't know. They're not going to get rid of sperm banks, are they? I can't see that ever happening.
Well,
I can't see that ever happening.
It wouldn't be in their interest. So if like men as a group did try to do it, I think there'd be too many women opposing it and too many manginas supporting them for it to actually
happen. Yes. There seems to be an opposition to when men might get something and women don't get anything out of the deal. There seems to be opposition to it, like, well, what about women? And it's maybe it's just not your turn to get something, but...
This is what drives me... This is my fundamental criticism about, like, Anita Sarkeesian, really. Obviously, I know she's a con artist, but it's the argument, not her, The argument that they always make is, well, what about the women? And like you say, it's just not your turn this time, there's going to be another 50 Shades of Grey book coming out, or another fucking Twilight book, I'm sure, because there's a giant market of lonely housewives. So, you will get your stuff, but this is our stuff. Stop having a whine. That's how I feel about it. So, yeah, my
that's what would happen if we tried to give men the same paternity leave as women get, It's just, women would just never... They would never stand for it because they wouldn't get in out of the deal. Men would get more time off. They wouldn't get anything, any change, and they wouldn't have it. They'd have to get something as well.
It's hang on.
That's okay. It's okay. Let's see. What makes you think women may have a natural inclination with dolls and a boy with trucks? Is it possible that these things are learned? Well, my son's 5, and I remember this came up when we got him all the Toy Story stuff. We got him like Woody, Buzz, and the pig, all those ones, And it was his uncle was going to get him another one. What one will I get him? Get him Jessie, and he was like, but is that not for girls? It's like, no, he's got all the others. you know. So why should they not have Jesse? He's also got all the Nintendo Mario teddies, you know, those plush toys, right?
Yeah.
And I also got him Daisy and Princess Peach. You know, now Princess Peach especially is all pink and looks like a doll for girls. But I wasn't going to get him Mario, Luigi, and all the rest without getting Princess Peach and Daisy. That doesn't make any sense. So, you know, there's certain things I would never get. I would never let a boy play with. Like those dolls, those creepy dolls that you get.
Which ones are these?
The ones that piss themselves. You've seen them for little girls. Now what the fuck is that, man? You feed it and it pisses itself so that you can change its nappy and all that. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Oh,
I wouldn't let a boy.
Loving that.
I wouldn't let a boy play with that, but I wouldn't let a girl play with it either, because to me it's like some kind of, I don't know, training toy. You're going to be a mother here, practice. It's just, I don't know, I don't like that. I think they're creepy as fuck, those things.
I think it's unnecessarily realistic. I went to visit a friend of mine a while ago. He just had a baby daughter, and she had loads of these dolls, and I was crashing in their living room that night. And I swear to God, they are the creepiest goddamn things anyway, because they've just got these dead eyes that are always just staring at you. Honestly, I couldn't fucking sleep. You know? Yeah, sorry. No,
but some of them are creepy, but some of them, those things are creepy. But it's the way toys. See the way toys are for boys and girls. Like they've got in Tesco, right? They've got like an aisle for toys. One side is for girls, one side is for boys. The boys' side is all green, grey, black, blue, purple, you know, all different colours. The girl side's all pink. Everything's pink. You know, and it's just, what the fuck, man?
I mean, the feminists must just be tearing their hair out. I can't believe you've done this again. And Tesco are just like, look, we're so sorry. We're so sorry.
But it is what people will buy their daughters and stuff. People will do that, and when you think as well, say some doddery old aunt or gran, right? She's in the shop. She just wants to get the niece or the grandson a gift, you know, or a granddaughter. So she just goes to the bitter. She'll like that, and she'll pick something pink up. You know, that's what sells. People seem to think blue's for boys and pink is for girls. I think that's ridiculous, but it's just the way it is. It's bred into them in school as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that there isn't, that there aren't social constructs, because, like you say, I mean, you know, there's no particular reason that pink or blue should be assigned to either gender.
No.
But they just are. So it's like, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just something that is.
But sometimes it's really pathetic, right? I'll give you an example, right? I was on Amazon, right, and I was looking for a wrist support, right? Any masturbating jokes are welcome, by the way, right? But anyway, I was looking for a wrist support, right? And they had all these different ones, and they had this one brand that was like a $5, right?
Yeah.
And they had another one. This one was just a wrist support, and then they had another one, a wrist support for women, right? Same brand, right? Same brand, same price, right? And I thought, hang on a minute here. I have to look at the difference. And the only difference between the two was the one for women was pink. That was the only difference. So for the wrist support being pink made it for women.
The thing is,
it's so ridiculous.
I bet the sales of it shot up because it was pink. You know, they were probably looking at their target, you know, their demographic breakdown, and thinking, well, women just aren't buying our wrist support. Should we try making a pink one for women? Make it, boom, women are suddenly buying our wrist support. And it's just like, well, you know, you can't blame them. You know?
But no, you can't blame them for trying. Bic done it with a pen. Bic made a pen just for women.
Yeah, exactly.
Small. I mean, it's ridiculous.
There is a part of me that does understand why the feminists are annoyed about it. I wouldn't think to the point where, I mean, it wouldn't annoy me if this was something I was concerned about. It wouldn't annoy me to the point where I'd like lobby toy shops to change the colour of their aisles. But I can see why they might just be like, you know, oh, fuck's sake again, obviously. Typical, you know, patriarchy, whatever. Yeah, so I can kind of see it. But if women weren't such sheep when it came to this sort of thing and completely validated everything these businesses were trying to, you know, were doing, it would at least give the feminist arguments a lot more credulity. But unfortunately, women are in full support of the patriarchy. So, sorry.
Yeah. It does work though. I mean, it just works. It's just say something is for women, and it'll catch their. They'll feel they're getting treated special. Oh, that's just for me. Oh wow, it's pathetic, but it works.
It's crazy because I mean, as soon as something is advertised as for men, I think, oh, go on. I'm automatically suspicious. For example, I bought like some Lynx shower gel the other day, and it had a man washer advertisement on the back. There's something.
I've seen that.
It's some just thing that you put soap in it, you scrub yourself, and it's like, look, you can't make taking care of your skin to make sure it's all soft and delicate. You can't make that manly. So stop fucking trying. I'm not buying it. I don't know any man who would buy it because of that. They might be like, yeah, I want softer skin, and fair enough. But it's the same.
They do good with the Yorkie though. Have you seen the Yorkie advert?
I know.
They basically make out that Yorkie is not for girls. These are old adverts, and it's like the guy in the shop. It will still be on YouTube. Yorkie, it's not for girls. It's really a really funny advert, and it shows you this woman going in the shop, and she's got a fake moustache on, and she's trying to talk like a man because she wants a Yorkie. But the shopkeeper only sells it to men, so he asks her all these questions. What's the offside rule? To see if she's valid to get a Yorkie. But so they use that, but only in jest, really.
Yeah. Man, feminists just like, what? I'll fucking show you. I'm going to go buy that Yorkie. Fuck you. What do you know? And
they really wouldn't be able to handle it because Yorkies are big. They wouldn't be able to handle it. Yeah. They really are not for girls.
I've had some musings on the concept of the patriarchy that I guess I wanted to bounce off someone. And so I was thinking, right, okay, there can't be tens of thousands of feminists going, we're victims of the patriarchy, this is a patriarchy, without at least there being something for them to be complaining about. Now, because I don't want to just be dismissive and go, no, they're all idiots and they don't know what they're talking about, even though that is what I do a lot. So I was thinking about, right, okay, one of the ones was in Lacey Green's video where she was talking about the thing, and I've really been like trying to just think this over, and I can only imagine it's that women are are unable to resist the adverts, as in the same sort of way that, like, in the same sort of way that if teenage boys, if they're at their chess club and they put huge posters of tits around, they wouldn't be able to stop themselves looking at these tits, So it must be the same kind of desire and drive. The money's being given to, and the stat was, 95% of these like cosmetics owners were men or something. The executives doing it were men, and so from their position, I can see why it would look like these men were taking advantage of these women. They were saying, look, you should wear this makeup because you can look really beautiful. And the women can't resist it. They just can't do it. I mean, they probably can for a certain amount, to a limited degree, but it would just be so much easier to just buy it, and then that's it. The problem is it's a lot easier to give in. And so, and when they're coming to like us or the people who in our way, we are defending these guys' ability to do this, and we're saying, tough shit, fucking live with it, stop being a pussy or whatever we say, I can see why they would think, if what they are saying from their point of view, in their world, is true, now it is the patriarchy defending their ability to extort money out of women by making them feel bad to give them this money. But the thing is, this only works if women are unable to say no. Because when someone's trying to say, oh, men, you should be this, you should be that, I'm like, no, I'll be what I fucking want. I'll do what I like, thanks. I'll take whatever you've said under advisement, and then I'll consider it. But, if you saying that this is the case probably makes me think it's not the case. But if women are not able to do that, and it's not like these marketing executives are being shy about the fact that, hey, women are buying all this stuff, let's keep doing it, and they'll keep buying it, and the numbers keep going up, and that gives us more money, and these women are going, oh, we're being exploited with you doing this, and we just can't resist. And that's the only way I can validate the concept of patriarchy as they're trying to present it to me, you know. But that just makes me think, well, you're not
So
equal.
you're thinking they believe what they say then?
Yeah, I think they do. I don't think that they would publicly make themselves look so stupid if.
But I don't think most of them do. I think most of them just lie about it because it's like me blaming the Illuminati, you know.
But this sorry, I missed that bit. This is actually what I was talking about, right? This actually does include the concept of privilege as well, right? Because that's right. You were like, well, I think they can just do that, but they can't. That's the thing that you've got to remember, because this is what they're saying repeatedly. We can't stop ourselves. We just can't help it. And so, just because you can, and these media guys can, they're thinking, don't be stupid. It's not mandatory. You don't have to spend your money on this. And so, if you don't, we've got no power over that. That assumes that these women do have that ability. And if they don't have that ability, which is what effectively they are saying, they're saying we can't resist, then, yeah, that's the thing. Then they, that's kind of like, it's almost a disability, I guess. It's a weakness that's being exploited. They can't say no. They can't resist it. And, yeah, maybe we should actually be catering to that. But don't fucking say that you're my equal. Because I can resist this just fine. You are an inferior and you need special attention. Now I can get on board.
But
but don't fucking call them my equals. But that's the only way I can make it make sense. I can't see it being true any other way. Mate, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on it. I really would, because. Sorry.
When people say patriarchy, I often find that what they're doing there is it's a way to say men are to blame, but I don't want to sound like a man-hater, so I'm just going to say it's the patriarchy, Whereas if they were being realistic, they'd say society and not the patriarchy. But I don't believe most of them believe what they're saying. That they know that most of the things they're saying are bullshit, but it helps with the cause. Because they're just spreading a message. All they're doing is spreading the message to the gullible women.
I would agree, except they seem so devout in their beliefs, and I can't believe that. And the thing is, I do think that they're trying to do good. They think that what they're trying to do is a good thing. I honestly think,
maybe.
Because I can't. I don't want to be so cynical as to think that they're all just a bunch of money-grubbing con artists like Anita bloody Sarkeesian, and that they're all soulless just twats, because that's really damning. You can't come back from that. So
I wonder if there's anything natural in it, right? When it comes to men and women, right? That a lot of these people who cry about patriarchy and about being victims are always women, right?
Of course.
Do you think there's something there about the men by nature are the protectors, right? So do women feel maybe subconsciously that they have to put themselves in a victim role in order to get male attention, to get the attention of the protector? Because it's a lot of women play this victim shit, it's a lot of them,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the nature of power, isn't it? There was a Terry Pratchett book. I can't remember which one. It's Small Gods, I think. That this guy was a prophet, and he's talking to this tiny god, and he eventually helps the god get his power back. And suddenly the god's, just bestriding this city, and the line that struck me is the god says to the guy, "You can't use your weakness as a weapon." And the guy's like, "That's all I have." You care about basically it's you care about me, and I'm weak, and I'm going to hold that over you to get you to conform to what I want you to do. And it works, and obviously it's fiction, so but I think that it's a similar principle where I think women are well aware of how much men like them, and how men do tend to want to be protective over women, and it's a natural thing. And I think that adopting the sort of the victim position definitely. It's obvious that it makes men sympathetic to them.
Well, white knights, the whole white knight thing,
And the thing is, I mean, I get that, you know, to a certain degree. I don't act on it, but I can feel it. You know, I can feel some sort of deep inbuilt desire to protect women, and it kind of pisses me off.
That's one of the things I always point out is when, you know, when they're laughing at us being mutilated, I always point out that a man that they don't know would put his life on the line to save them, and yet they laugh when men are mutilated, and they cheer when they talk about, you know, conning a man into having a child, you know, and yet,
disgusting.
And they don't talk about boys when they're slaughtered in Africa either, because, you know, they just don't care. They don't care, but yet those same boys would put their life on the line to protect them, and that's the way they get treated. It's bizarre.
And the thing is, and that leads on to the whole gender is a social construct. Oh my God, I am so sick of hearing that. You know, I think it's
so ridiculous.
It's the other way around. Society is a gender construct. You know, society is as it is because men and women have got different properties. There's no way to look at it. There's no other way to look at it. You know, it's ludicrous to think that it was just a random occurrence that the toughest, strongest, hardiest people who could produce lots of children with lots of the other sex happen to be the ones doing the difficult, dangerous, and dirty jobs. You know, and the ones that can only produce one child each every year, practically. And they happen to be smaller and more delicate, and you know, just less muscle mass. They just happen to be doing the home jobs that aren't particularly stressful, aren't strenuous, and don't really involve injury. Oh wow, what a fucking coincidence that is. You know, or is it inevitable based on biology? You know, it's ridiculous.
All right. Why do they take like hormone replacement when they're having a sex change then? You know, if it's just a social construct and you want to go from being a man to a woman, then just be a woman. It should be that easy. It should be as easy as putting on a fucking dress, you know. But obviously it's not, because we're different. But I don't know why people have a problem with that anyway. What's wrong with us all being different? What's wrong for even the races are different? I mean, I wouldn't take offence when people say that Asians are vastly superior in intelligence compared to me. I wouldn't take offence at that, because it's true.
This is going to lead
black people in general are going to be faster than me. You know, in general, they're going to be a lot faster than me.
What annoys me the most about it, though, is it flies in the face of evolutionary theory if we're not all different. If we're all the fucking same and we all live in different environments, then evolution is wrong. You know, we can't possibly all be the same. After, you know, I mean, and it's patently obvious. Like Eskimos have got a lot more subcutaneous fat under the skin, and you know they've got broader noses to heat the air that's going into the lungs and all that sort of stuff. These are evolutionary adaptations. You know, I'm not saying that Eskimos are stupid, because I have no idea whether their brains are affected by their environment. You know, the brain development. I have no idea, and I don't think it does. But physically, there is absolutely, you know, evolution dictates that there must be. You know, and so yeah, like you say, you know, it's one of those things in the Olympics. Sorry, but it is always the black guys winning the races. You know, it is always the Nordic powerlifters who are winning the world's strongest man. You know, you can say, oh, they're all people from everywhere exactly the same, but they're fucking not. You know.
Well, my son, he's obsessed with Usain Bolt, right? He watches Usain Bolt videos all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's the one thing that I have to say to him, son, you won't be able to do that. Yeah. You know, when he talks about running as fast as him, and I say, son, you will never be able to do that, because I don't tell him it's because you're white and you're not, you know, you don't have the same genes as this guy, but it is, but because he can never match him, and that's just a fact, and he'll just have to accept it, you know.
Well, that's the thing, you know. I mean, I when I was younger, when I was about 13, 14, I really enjoyed basketball. But I'm only 5'9", and I'm kind of fat, so there's no way I'm ever going to be getting anywhere. Just physically, I'm never going to be a basketball player, you know. And I came to that. You know, I accepted that pretty readily. It's just a fact of life, isn't it? You know.
I remember watching that survey the guy done in the college. What it was, he was talking about should we allow different people into the education system, not based on scores, but based on diversity, right? And all the students, they were all in favour of this, you know, in order to, like, we'll get more of this group, that group, just in favour of diversity and education, right? Over ability, right? And the guy said the same thing. He says, "But what to do that with the basketball team at the college as well? Because there's not enough whites there, you know." And he says, "We want to have more whites and more Asians in the basketball team. There must be 60% white and 20% Asian or something like that." And all the students thought that this was ridiculous, a ridiculous idea. So they were against the idea of ability being ruled out in sports, but they were not against the idea of ability being ruled out in education, you know. And it's just frightening. It's frightening that people just think like that. It's so hypocritical without realising it.
Yeah, they seem to be able to quite easily compartmentalise the idea of merit when it comes to between sports and the actual. I mean, there's no difference. There's no difference. It's just ability, isn't it? It's just ability, and
well, you'd hope. You would hope.
Yeah, you would hope. I mean, this is why I think. I mean, ultimately, when the feminists say patriarchy, what they mean is meritocracy. I'm absolutely firmly convinced that's what they're railing against, and it's because they don't really have any.
Well, like a class system, more a class system, you think?
Well, no, I think it's more just. I mean, I think that if someone has excellent ability in an area, they will rise in that area. Because like with any kind of market society, if what you're producing is high quality and readily available, then people are going to buy it. And it could be anything. It could, like in the workplace, you might be particularly efficient, and whatever you do in your workplace is better than everyone else's, so you get promoted upwards. I mean. That's how I think the world should be run, because it's going to produce the best in every area, But
it makes sense, but
well, you'd think so anyway. I would think so. But like the feminists with their quotas and the fact that they can't seem to, they can't distinguish that the not just feminists, people, the black and non-black basketball players, and yet people in other areas, it's the same thing. So I find it baffling. Franklin, should we go through some?
I don't know how they feel about. I go for it. I go.
Yeah,
I've got a question actually. Right.
Yeah, go for it.
It's Laura, a woman I know, Laura. She asked me a question for us. She said, "Is there anything about feminism or feminists that we do agree on?" Right. I've had all day to think about this, and the best I can come up with is the one thing that I think women could learn from feminists, right? And I'd totally be on board with this, is see when feminists try to make a point, they usually get their tits out. So if you're listening, Laura, if you want to make a good point, just get your tits out. That's what feminists do, and that's what I would like most women to do. That's where women can learn from feminists, and that's where I agree with feminism. But apart from that, I can't really think of anywhere else I agree with them.
Yeah, just write your message on your tits, and I'm sure it'll sink in. After enough time.
That's the thing as well. You could get a group of guys and a group of women could take their tops off, get their tits out, and whatever they're protesting would be written on their tits. But see, when the guys go away and you said to them, "What were they protesting?" "I don't know."
Yeah.
The guys wouldn't have a clue. They're like, I can't recall. I just seen a bunch of tits, but I don't remember. I don't remember what they were protesting.
I don't know. I don't know what questions you covered here. So if I
kind of started from the bottom of the page and worked my way up. I think it's the earliest ones. Oh no, it's no actually, because it's top comments. Newest first away.
Well, Oscar R. Spetz has asked, what do you think will become of feminism in the future? Will it wither or die, or will it become the new world order? What do you think?
I don't think it'll become a new world order. It will always exist. There will always be people who want to be victims, but our strongest allies are women with sons. If they would start speaking up and get on board and stop allowing your sons to be railroaded by the system, then we won't have a problem. But it won't take full charge. But yes, women with sense. But I do think women with sons are a real asset, because women are by and large selfish bastards, and if there's not something in it for them, they tend not to give a fuck. Whereas if they've got a son, then they may care about how their son may be treated. Like that woman, I made a video about her. She sent her son to college, and she got him and all his friends together and explained to them that if you're going to be with a woman, I want you to get text messages from her. I don't want you to be with them when they're drinking. You know, she was covering all angles because she knows her son can be railroaded through the system on one accusation. You know, she wasn't worried about grades. She was worried about false accusations. So if there's women like that with sons who teach their sons properly and keep them right and fight the system, then we might be in a chance.
Well, I don't think it's going to wither. I think it's actually going to become the New World Order. Yeah, I know, it's quite terrifying and dystopian, isn't it? But one of my favourite things, this is a bit of a tangent, but every time there's a UFO sighting or some, alien, like when people are like, oh, we all saw these weird lights in the sky, we demand explanations, and the government just come out and go, we don't know anything about aliens, and all the press are there going, right, okay, yeah, obviously not, and that's it. I think there's going to come a time, because this sort of thing seems to be getting just order of magnitudes more popular, that eventually there's going to be this huge press conference, and the president's going to say, well, I don't know anything about aliens, and everyone will just be there going, look, we all know there are aliens, we all believe that there are aliens, you may as well just tell us. And he's just like, no, there's not. And it's like, on Twitter, everyone's just like, we all know, and there is just no dissenting voice saying, we all know that this is the case, so just fucking tell us. And he's like, he'll be the one looking ridiculous denying the claim of aliens existing, And I honestly think it's going to get to that point eventually, because it's just great. And I think feminism and social justice warriors, frankly, are going to go the same way. They've infested academia, they've infested the school system, they've infested government, they're infesting the media, honestly. And if you look at the fucking Generation Ys, they are almost to a man a fucking mangina, and so I mean, eventually we're going to be dead, and no one's going to agree with what we thought. They're going to think that we were misogynist assholes and we deserve to be dead now. And I think that I think they've got too much institutional power, too much widespread support by people who aren't even part of their group, because like the Lena Dunham sketch trying to ridicule the MRA guy. I mean, to us it looks ridiculous, but to everyone else, I'm sure that I'm sure a lot of people were on her side just because she's a woman and he's a fucking man. They don't know the details, the ins and outs of this sort of stuff, because we deal with it. We're kind of like on the front lines in this sort of ideological war. So I'm very familiar with feminist arguments. I'm very familiar with what they're thinking and how they're going to approach it. But some guy or some woman who's just a normal person who just watched Jeremy Kyle and stuff, they don't know. And if these women are saying, oh, these men are so misogynistic, we're not saying extreme stuff like that back at them, they're always going to have the crowd. And so I think they're going to be able to carry it until eventually, I know it sounds pessimistic, but I honestly think they're going to win.
Well, you know what happened when they're in charge? Like the last time you mentioned in Norway, they're trying to prevent people from criticising feminism. Yeah. And I think it's in Sweden that they're trying to ban urinals. Stop men from standing up pissing, and it's like, if these people were in charge, they couldn't be in charge because they're so ridiculous. Because it's like, well, who the fuck do you think you are to tell me, or what business is it yours that I stand up and piss at all?
Yeah,
it's not an inequality in any way, not an inequality at all. But they've just made it an inequality for nothing.
It's an obviously vacuous concern of these feminists, because they've got no other dragons to slay. That's the thing, Everything else that they wanted to achieve has been achieved, and now they're desperately looking around for justification to, prove to people there's a reason that they still exist. But the thing is, this is what I mean, though. To us, it looks ridiculous. But because there are so many fucking kids coming out of universities going, oh my god, the world is terrible towards women and gays and transsexuals. They are producing a lot more of them than I'm producing rational thinkers from my videos, and you're producing them from yours. They get far more hits on their stuff than we get on ours. You know what I mean? And so we are losing this ideological war. We are losing it.
We may have time on our side though. The internet is infinite, hopefully.
That is true.
You know, we may have time on our side. We may not get the views right now, but maybe we'll get the views eventually. You know, see that?
I don't think so pessimistic. You know, I mean, it's not like something is going to stop me or anything. But I just, if I was looking at this like it was a game of Risk, I'd be thinking, oh, this isn't going great. You know?
No, I see what you mean. I see
but I think there is a backlash. I think there has been. It's picked up a lot recently. So we like, you know, we don't know. I suppose I don't know. It might. You know, I'm just being pessimistic, I think.
But you made a video on that Lena Dunham sketch, didn't you?
Yeah, I fucking did.
Saturday Night Live. That was no your video, but that sketch was rank. It was just like, you know, I fucking hate that. I hate watching something that is called a comedy, right? And it's not funny. You know, it bugs me because I always think, you know, if I was given that airtime, I could do a much better job than that, right? But that sketch with the fucking MRA thing, but they tried to make out he was into foreign wives and stuff, you know? It was like they were trying to give the worst possible stereotype, and it's like, who exactly is like that? You know, I mean, I've heard a few people mention foreign wives are better, which they're not, because they can still take to the fucking cleaners just as easily. They can still fucking railroad you through the system, no problem. So they're not any better. But I don't really understand that stereotype. I thought if they were going to do it, it would be women haters and, you know, basement dwellers. I didn't think the stereotype would be we were into foreign wives or foreign women. It's ridiculous.
I think it's ironic that they tried to portray the guy as like some sort of ultra beta male, which actually seems to be the complete opposite of what the manosphere seems to be. The beta males are the ones in their corner. You know, these like submissive guys, like this guy was. He was really weak, you know, and they're on their side. You know, who the fuck is she talking about?
But did you notice that by doing a comedy sketch and trying their hardest to ridicule men's rights activists, they actually only succeeded in being really racist towards foreign women?
Oh,
you know?
I know, wasn't it?
It was like they were saying, oh, these foreign women can't be better than us, so it must be because they're submissive and they're stupid and they're easily led, and you know, and it's like, you know, maybe they're just better, you know.
If I was like a non-American woman watching that, I'd be pissed the fuck off. You know? Another thing about that sketch though is what really annoyed me is if you just divorce yourself from the issues and look at the dynamics of the situation. You know, it's a room full of women, and they're all doing quite well. They've all got jobs. They're all quite, you know, well off. And they're having this jewelry party, and one guy comes in. You know. One person who is not part of this group comes in, and they all suddenly just turn on him and start attacking him. If it could be anyone, you know, it could be like, you know, it could be. I would be on their side just because of the dynamics of the situation. If you've got 6 people shouting at one person in a room, I'm going to stand up for that one person just because there are so many people attacking them, and no issues are ever that black and white.
Oh, talking about black and white, do you notice they were careful to make sure that MRA was white? Because if they had made him black, then that might have been a bit racist, you know. Make sure he's white, you know. Make sure he's white, and he's into women, so he's obviously heterosexual as well. And we know how evil white heterosexual men are. We all know.
But I mean, if it was like a room full of MRAs, and one of them brought his feminist girlfriend, and all the MRAs just started having a go in the same sort of way, you'd defend the feminist girlfriend just because no one person deserves to walk into a situation like that. You know, that's just horrible.
I don't like outnumbered. I don't like people being outnumbered like that. That's not right. It's not right.
It's cowardly. It's fucking cowardly. And I really dislike it.
No, but that's what they do. It's like whenever any famous woman says she's not a feminist, they all clam around and, you know, no, you are, you just don't understand, and they, you know, they try to outnumber them so that they can eventually agree, you know. It's just pathetic. I wanted to talk about that argument, by the way, right? I've seen this argument, I've seen it so many times, right? There was this thing, some blog post or something I read about reasons are not a feminist, and it was the comment section, right? It was all quotes from feminists. I think it was like 23 quotes from feminists, right? All negative things that they've said, all bona fide feminists, right? And in the comment sections, the same shit over and over again about, oh, they're not real feminists, or they're extreme, they're rabid feminists. But the one that keeps coming up time and again is, you need to read this particular type of feminist literature so that you can understand what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was in an argument with a feminist a while ago, and she said that to me, that I obviously just don't understand feminism. I should read feminist literature. So I said to her, look, I want you to answer me a question, right? I said, do you agree with me that the Nazis were a bunch of evil bastards, right? And she said, yes. And I said, how many books written by Nazis have you read? She hasn't read any.
Obviously.
And I said, well, how do you know it's a bad movement and a terrible group of people if you've not read any of their books? Because that's the logic. Because we've not read feminist books, we don't get it. It's like we don't see all the hate, we don't hear all the shit that they say, we don't witness any of it, and when we do, we just don't understand. We need to read real feminist literature. This argument is all the time. I am not going to read any feminist literature. I know what feminism is about, and I don't need to read brainwashing books to get it more. You know?
Not only that, though, right? They don't seem to understand that there are inherent flaws with any movement that produces an ultra-radical sect that has, really off-the-shelf, off-the-wall sort of opinions and ideals, and they are the ones making all the noise, Like the Nazis are a perfect example. I think they got 36% of the vote, at most. So, 2/3 of Germany were not Nazis. And yet, the Nazis were the ones causing all the problems, and Germany as a whole suffered for it, And so, okay, feminists, right, even if all of the other feminists are really great, you're still producing, as a movement, this disgusting radical sect that wants, that has called for the death of all men and stupid stuff like that. And so it's like, even I wouldn't want to be associated with any kind of organization or movement that produced that sort of thing, that sort of extremism. I don't see why anyone would. And the idea of trying to justify it is baffling. Just disassociate yourself.
It's the silence.
Yeah.
It's the silence, though. It's the rather than say, that's a terrible thing that person said. I don't agree with that. They will instead say, oh no, they're not a real feminist. And it's like, well, what do you have to do to become a bona fide feminist? What are the thing. You can't what's the criteria that you have to meet?
Feminism is something that people self-identify as. People don't get assigned a feminist label. They take it for themselves and they say, I am a feminist. And so you can't say that someone is not a feminist, because you only become a feminist by saying, I'm a feminist. It's like a religion.
Exactly. It's
like a Muslim. You choose it for yourself. So if these sort of people are saying that they are feminists, then maybe you shouldn't say that you're a feminist, because, you all choose it. It's not something that's given to you.
It should be official. The feminism should be more official, almost like a political party. It should have a specific leader, and it should have an official website with all the listed things that they're going to fight for.
Like the rights of the party.
Aye, they're going to fight for the rights of Saudi Arabian women to get an education. I'm sure they are.
I'd vote for that. I mean, that's a good right that they, that's.
But that way as well, you could go to the leader, right, and you could say, look, this person said this, and they're claiming to be a feminist. Are they a real feminist?
Yeah.
Let's give them licenses, to say, because that's how easy it is. You can say, I'm a feminist. Let's kill all men, and that's simply not good enough. You have to do something to be a feminist. What have you fought for? What have you done? What are the current goals of feminism? That's what I would like to know. What are the current goals of feminism? Is it really making men stand up when they have a piss, or is it banning words like bossy, or or are you going to try and make sure that women in Saudi Arabia can fucking drive? You know what I'm saying? What is it? What are the current goals of feminism? But you'd never get an answer. If you ask them this, they'd just say, "Oh, you sound like a rape apologist." You know what I'm saying?
This is actually something very interesting. It's something that I've been pondering for a while. and it's something Dan Carlin's brought up in his political thing, is that in this way it's very much like Islam, because there is no central religious authority for Muslims. There used to be the Caliph, who was the spiritual head of the faith and the Islamic Empire, and it shattered. There were multiple ones more. But the Caliph is something that's severely lacking in the modern world, because there's no way of dealing with Muslims as a group. Because he's like the Pope for Muslims, or he should be like the Pope for Muslims. And this is what feminists need, because they're pushing in so many different and often contradictory directions. They end up having major schisms within their own movement. And I shouldn't be telling them how to help themselves achieve something, but it would at least mean that, like you say, there would be someone that we could reach a concord with. We can come to an agreement and say, look, we know that you have things that you want, but other people don't want those, so you're going to have to compromise.
And we could also keep tabs on them and what they're doing for their current goals, and it's like maybe it'd be good to hear the leader of feminism come out and say, "Oh, see that Sue Park? She's not a feminist. Don't count her as one of us. Don't take what she says as part of feminism." But they don't do that. They can't do that.
There's no
Rokerfield is asking me a question. Do you eat your porridge with sugar? No, I don't eat porridge. But if I do eat porridge, I eat it with salt. Sugar.
Like a true Scotsman.
Why would he presume that I like to have anal sex with men? You know what I'm saying?
That's coincidental, because I do have anal sex with men when I'm eating porridge with sugar. I'm a pansy southerner. So.
Oh, it's the only way. It's the only way.
Okay.
Man, I've not had porridge for years, man.
Yeah, I haven't either, actually. Woody Black says, here's a question. This whole men's rights thing seems to be more of an American thing. Are they just ahead of us in terms of lots of men being pissed off and being vocal about it? Or are things worse for men in the USA than they are here? Or are Americans more outspoken about these things in general, or do British men just not give a toss? I genuinely think it's worse in the US, from what I've seen.
It's worse in America, is that what you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the sort of laws over here, the government divorce and stuff, they're not as extreme. I don't see as many extreme cases as I do in the US, and it just generally seems that in the US it does seem to be worse. It's not good over here, but I think that it is a bit more moderate. But that's just my opinion from what I've seen, really.
I don't know if there's much of a difference, because I mean, a lot of the shit that happens, like, well, over here, we've got all these fucking rape threats shit and all that BBC constantly pushing the feminist bullshit, propaganda. Every fucking day they're pushing this shit, man. And we're paying for this, But then in America, I actually think Canada's worse, to be honest. I think Canada's probably worse than America. But America's, the thing about America, it's so big and it's so many different people because of all those different states. It's man, you get a lot more stories, because it's such a big place, and they're media crazy over there, so they report almost everything. But as a side note on that, see that guy that shot 7 people because he couldn't get laid, apparently, right? As a little side note, because we're talking about Americans, it's interesting to note that it was a handgun the guy used, because they're trying to ban assault rifles in America. But this guy took 7 people out with a handgun. Just started pointing that out. Just thought it was kind of interesting.
Well,
but anyway, the MRA thing.
Go on.
I wouldn't put it on a scale as worse or better or anything, because I think it's just as bad all over, and I think the worst is probably Canada. Well, Sweden's the worst, obviously, but Canada's up there.
I think it seems that Sweden. I don't really hear a lot out of Sweden, though. I would have thought maybe it's a language barrier or something like that, but I would have thought I would get more Swedish men, because I get a few commenting on my videos and stuff, and I'm sure you do as well, sort of thing. But I would have thought that there would have been a lot more if if a large percentage of the men over there weren't accepting of the way it is.
Or maybe they're more stricter control of their internet over there. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Language barrier as well.
Yeah, I think
barrier.
The language barrier, to be fair.
Maybe not so much with the Swedes.
Okay, I've got another one for you. Tyler Likes Food says, do you guys think we can put a stop to the forces that are in motion destroying society, socialism, feminism, gynocentrism, cultural Marxism, etc., through strong reasoning and persistence, or must we wait for a collapse before we can turn this ship around?
Strong reasoning, persistence, and mocking. Mocking is very important, I think. If we laugh at these people, they don't like that. They really do not like being laughed at, being made fools. I think that's important as well. But as I said earlier, women with sons, if they would get on board and start opening their fucking mouths and stop staying silent, it'd be no problem.
I think they're not going to do anything until their sons are being affected by it, though. I don't think that they're smart enough to really look ahead and think this is going to happen. Not necessarily smart enough. I mean, I think people are too optimistic in a lot of cases. In most cases, actually, weirdly enough, people on the whole seem to be quite optimistic about things until they go wrong. And it's not even about being pessimistic. It's just not being realistic. And so it kind of drives me crazy. But yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any particular change to these forces until they've really had some damage to, like you say, women with sons. But by then it'll be too late. I think it'll be far too late.
But they will do something. They'll go too far at some point because they're getting so ridiculous now. They've got to go. They've got to go to the point where they've just went too far. And I mean, well, you can see the change in men. Men don't want to get married now because the way women are. This is a big change because the system's stacked against them, and they just don't want to do it anymore. Eventually, people will start waking up and saying that this whole feminism deal, it's not that good. They won't get stronger. I don't think they'll get stronger over the years. I think they'll get weaker.
I think they'll become more widespread, but I don't think that necessarily means stronger. I think I think that there will be, in about 30 years time or so, these 19, 20-year-olds who are coming out of university with their stupid gender studies degrees, when they're very much alone, with their cats or mice, they're going to be really concerned. Obviously they're going to have this cognitive dissonance where they can't believe that their beloved ideology has actually, the involution of it is actually that it turns out to have a really negative result that fundamentally they weren't after, to be left abandoned and alone. Like Jermaine Gray said, that's the worst thing you can do to a woman, and they're doing it to themselves. And it's just like, right, okay, well, that's what you get for demonizing the people you wanted to stay with you. You don't get any other result. What else do you think you're going to get?
It's just negativity after negativity. It's got to have an effect. I mean, I'm hoping in 30 years' time, people will look back and see that feminism is nothing but a hate movement. By and large, it is a hate movement. That's all it is. It hates men, obviously. It hates children. It hates women. It doesn't want women. Feminists don't want women to have options and do what they want. They want them to do what they want them to do.
Wasn't there a very pertinent quote to that? It was, one of these prominent feminist thinkers, Gloria Steinem or someone like that, who said something like, if we allow women the option of becoming housewives, then they're going to take it. So they can't be allowed that option.
Yes, I remember. I don't know who it was, but I remember that. So we can't give them that option because they might take it. So, well, what the fuck is wrong with them making that choice? God's sake. Because it's not the choice that they want for them.
That's the thing. I think that this fundamentally comes down to the mistaken belief of feminists to think that they can speak for women when they can't. They can only speak for feminists because, that quote proves it. If the women are going to choose the non-feminist option, then the feminists do not represent these women, and now they're going to have to oppress these women by preventing that option from being there, and that's a form of oppression, And so, basically, I do think that ultimately feminists are going to oppress women's natural, proclivities. I genuinely think so. You know, and I think it's terrible. But yeah, sorry, I was bitching about that now. Psychological Cynic wants to know what we believe happiness is and why.
What I believe happiness is.
Yeah.
Happiness, that's a hard one, isn't it? God, that's a hard one to describe. Happiness is totally subjective, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's for everybody's a different thing.
Yeah.
If you mean what's individual happiness, it changes as well. I mean, when I was younger, what would have made me happy wouldn't make me happy now. But
I don't think it's necessarily like the things that make you happy. I think it's the methods by which you can attain happiness. And I think that being given the freedom to choose ultimately is where happiness resides. You know, if you don't have any options, then I don't think you're going to be happy. You know, you're never going to be able to. I think just make your life as pleasant as possible, in your opinion. You know, for you is the goal, and you can only do that by having various options that you can pursue. You know. And so, yeah, I think that's what happiness is, ultimately, being able to pursue the goal that you set yourself.
It's very simple to say happiness is whatever makes you happy, but that's kind of what my answer is. Even though that's very simple to say.
Yeah.
But
a bit of a tautology one, isn't it?
I'm getting a question here from Rokerful. What advice would you give your son about women? Oh God, that is a difficult one. You see, if my son's straight, I would like him to, live a happy life, maybe get a girlfriend, and if he wants, start a family and stuff. But I will tell him the damage that they can do just simply by saying words, and just so much damage they can do just by living with you, just by being with them, being in their presence. They can get you in a lot of trouble. But obviously I'll have to tell them the Walt, I'll have to tell them that there are good women out there, but few and far between. I would want them to be able to have healthy relationships with women, but I would not stop worrying about those women and what they could do to my son. But what I wouldn't want to do is scare him away from women, and make him think that, oh, they're all fucking gold digging whores. I wouldn't want to scare him away, but at the same time, it's a difficult one. It's very difficult. I just want him to be happy.
I actually don't have a son, and I would like to have a son. Because I think that I've spent enough time thinking about things that I wish my dad had known, so he could have told me in advance. Not that I'm saying I would have listened or anything like that, but it would have been nice to have at least known. But my dad comes from a different era, and he's never had any of the problems that modern men really face. He's still married to the same woman for like 35, 40 years. He's a normal guy, as for all intents and purposes. And so he didn't have to think about any of these things, because these are all new things, really. And I think that one of the things I would definitely tell my son is not to think of women like angels. Women are just people. Because I remember when I was a teenager.
Don't give them a pass.
Yeah, exactly. Judge them by how they actually act, rather than how any preconceived notions you might have of women. Because I really think that biology betrays men. Because I swear, it seems like, when I was a teenager, and it seems every teenage boy absolutely idolized at least one woman that they knew. One girl at school, sort of thing, something like that. And they would be this fantasy woman where she would be perfect in every way. And I'm just thinking, how fucking stupid was I? I used to think that too. What was I fucking thinking? And I think it's a natural biological thing that it kind of clouds teenage boys' minds. They're not thinking straight. And so one of the things I would definitely say to my son if I had one is be careful about it, be aware of it, because it's emotion, it is emotion, and it seems that it's not, I guess, to me, or it did. And so don't believe any kind of illusions that you might have about women. That's what I would say. Judge them on their actions.
But you would just worry constantly, though, wouldn't you? You know, you would just. For me, I would just worry that even if I met her and she was very nice and all that, you know, I would still worry that, you know, all it takes is on her whim, on her word, she can destroy my son's life, and his reputation, just like that, you know. And I don't know. That makes me very uncomfortable. You know, what I would like to do is, you know, in the Matrix where he plugs a thing in his head and then he knows kung fu. I would like to, you know, transport everything I know into my son's head.
That would be good.
Know, so that he knew everything that I knew. You know, and then he would know about women. Well, what I know about them.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, I think that I think people like us do know a lot about women in comparison to your average guy. You know, because to be fair, we spend a lot of time talking about them. You know, they're one of the primary subjects that we cover. So
they're very interesting. They're interesting to study. They're not interesting to have a conversation with, but they're interesting to study.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a comment from someone called Dr. Randomacan, who I discovered the other day because he did a video of the social justice warrior, a different video. He's how I found her, incidentally. And his video, I can't remember the name of it now. Evil Pandering. It's really, really funny. He's got this kind of northern charm.
What's his name?
Dr. Randomer Cam.
Okay. Is he on that video asking a question? Yes.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. His question is.
All right. Okay, I'll find him on there.
Yeah, he's on there. Do you find society gets more misandric / gynocentric in cities and metropolitan areas than it does in rural areas?
Ooh. I would only guess because I don't go to rural areas a lot.
Same.
But I would guess that there'd be less feminism, you know, than there is in the city. They've got more to piss and moan about in the city. In the country, they're more likely to just get on it. The woman has her role, the man has his role. I'm thinking of farmers here, you know. I hope I'm not stereotyping too much, but I'm thinking of the farmer and maybe the farm boy. The farm girl will put in work as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The woman of the house, she's got her role, you know, taking care of the house and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine it's more old-fashioned, but I don't think feminism would be welcome in the country, to be honest.
I think
because they'd accuse the farmers of raping the cows, taking that milk without their consent. They've not got time for that shit.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's the thing. I think it's obstacle, isn't it? You know, there are obstacles in the way of these women's happiness in the country because, I mean, if we're talking farmers, I mean, I know a woman who's a farmer's wife, and she's got the most rough hands you've ever seen, you know, because she works.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she's not a feminist. And yeah,
actual work.
Yeah, exactly. She does actual work, you know, and fair play to her, you know. But like you say, in the cities, these women, what barriers have they got? They go down to the local Tesco Metro whatever time they want. They get bottles of wine. They get meals for one. And they go home and microwave them, and then watch crappy TV until they pass out drunk, and then go to work again the next day. Mm-hmm. They don't have any obstacles. There's no challenge to their life. In fact, their lives are so fucking boring. They have to self-medicate with alcohol and crappy TV to pretend that they're not as lonely as shit. And so, yeah, I definitely think that there's a difference between the two. I mean, I live in Wiltshire, and you do get some proper sort of rural areas, and I've never met anyone who looks like a feminist anymore.
I'm basing everything I know on stereotypes, though. You know,
well,
I was born and raised in the city, so
yeah. Whereabouts do you live?
Glasgow.
Oh, right, well, right in the middle of it then.
Right in the east end of Glasgow, so I was raised in the city, you know, I don't really know much about the country, but so yeah. I'm going on stereotypes, so I may be offensive and wrong.
No, I think by and large, the stereotypes are just for a reason, you know. I mean, I used to live in Cornwall, and it's, you know, it's very rural, and it's very much like you would expect. It's like that for a reason, you know.
I expect places like that to be gossipy because everybody would know everybody's business.
Oh, you don't.
You know, in a small community, you know.
It's infuriating, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, exactly. Everyone is in everyone else's pockets. So it's a pain. Web designer guy says, "What do you think of the radical feminist idea that men are no longer needed? Now that there is artificial insemination, men have become obsolete, and anything that a man can do, a woman can do better."
Though one thing that will never change is though there's always going to be millions and millions of women that want a man.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they invent, an iRobot with a vibrating dildo attached. It doesn't matter. They're still going to want a man. A man that can be spontaneous and that can, make decisions and take charge. There's a lot of women that still want men. But they don't want. I don't think most women want the Ray Barone, the guy, like you say, they boss around and just control. I don't think women want that. But that's just me. They'll always want men. They'll always want men.
I think
women
they'll
will
always be very attracted to men, as in proactive leaders. Even if it's just of the household. I think that's what women are fundamentally attracted to. Because everyone's seen like the guy with a head shaped like a fucking potato next to the most attractive bird ever. But this guy's just, he carries himself with confidence, and he gets things done. He earns money. He's pushing forward, and women are attracted to that.
I think that they like a man who can put his foot down.
Yeah.
When enough is enough, he can put his foot down and take charge and take control of the situation, and sort it all out. I think they like that, But,
yeah, I agree. My missus is very much
like that. But they can use that against the man as well, and he always takes charge, he always takes control. That can sound like abuse to some people, Not giving a woman money can sound like abuse to some people, so that can as well. But I do think, by and large, women will always want men. Men are never going to be obsolete. Maybe in some jobs, when they remember that video done about aliens, when they make those big robots out of aliens, a lot of jobs will go. But
that's nothing.
There will never be obsolete,
is it? That's just productivity.
No, nothing. No.
But
exactly.
The idea of men actually becoming genuinely obsolete as a factual thing is obviously absurd. But I like the idea, because then what does that mean? I can retire or something, does it? I can just, what, do I get looked after?
You'll be in your little cage, and then when they need some sperm, they'll come and get it.
Jesus, this is horrible.
I think that's what they want.
Yeah. So Thomas Stockman says, where do we see MGTOW going? And the state of MGTOW and where it's going. What do you think?
Again, difficult because it's not really a movement, is it? But if men in general do what they want to do with their lives, I think everybody will be better off for it.
Yeah.
If men just live the life that they want, that's forget what everybody else wants for them. What they want. It would be better for everybody, including women. It'll be better for them as well. That's what I believe. But
because a lot of the time, what do men actually want? They want to build things. They want to invent things. They want to discover things. These are really good things for everyone. These are like the male raison d'etre. This is what they do. So, every man has got a fucking man cave where he goes and takes care of his personal projects.
Yes.
Every man fucking has one. Every man. I've got friends. They might paint model World War II planes or something like that, but they're making something that didn't exist before. Men enjoy it.
A lot of great inventions have came from the man cave, though.
Exactly.
Men working in their sheds, just messing about with something. Next thing you know, there's a Dyson vacuum. Things come from man caves a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's where
the only thing that comes out of the women cave is gossip.
Yeah. Fucking gossip. I would never say something behind someone's back that I wouldn't say to their face if if they asked. I mean, it might not be polite to say it to the face, so I don't. But if they said, "What's your opinion?" I would give it honestly and say, "Look, I'm sorry, but that is my opinion."
They
And
hold
this
a lot of power, though. Gossips,
yeah.
I mean, they hold a lot of power.
Yeah, they do.
Somebody asked, I don't know who. Oh no, actually, it's all right. I found it. It's Doomrolls, right?
Oh, yeah.
Doomrolls asks, "Do you think professions involving children, like teaching, will ever be a safe avenue for men to work in?" Right now, this question is related to the gossips, right? Because I went to a parents' meeting, and I was talking to my son's teacher, a woman. There's a surprise, right? And I said this to her. I said, "There's only one guy in this school. Well, two guys, a janitor and a PE teacher, right?" and I said, "I mean, there's no the only guy in my son's life who's around him is me. He doesn't have any authority figures in school that are male, you know."
Yeah.
And I said this to his teacher. I said, "What do you think of that?" You know, and she said that they try to get more men into primary schools because a lot of parents think there should be more men in primary schools, right?
But
the real problem are the school gate gossips. They are the problem because a man, it has to be a specific type of man to go for a job in a school. It has to be tough because rumours will start by the school gate gossips, and they can say the most vicious, horrible things.
Yeah.
You know, they hold a lot of power, and it puts men off going into that profession. And that's how men prefer to go into the secondary school than primary school. And I think men would be great in primary school because men are great with children, you know. Men are different from women.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. When I was in college, I had a friend called Alan who his dream was to become a primary school teacher, and he was the nicest guy I've ever met. One of those guys, just never had a bad word to say about anyone. Completely unassertive and stuff like that. But he was comfortable in himself and all that sort of thing. He probably would have become a great teacher, and I recoiled at the idea of doing. Like when he was telling me, I was like, Jesus, that sounds not awful, because I imagine that making plasticine figures and crayon paintings all day is wonderful fun. But the idea that I would do it and not have people at least give me strange looks is something I can't believe would happen. It would just be like one of those. It would be assumed even if there was nothing to just by the fact that he's male, isn't it?
It is that, and even though women abuse children far more, the people just think because it's because it's a man, and it's shit how much power these bastards hold. It's really, really shit.
It's fucking evil.
As I say, I as a parent, I want more men in my son's school. I want him to see men as authority figures. I want him to know that men and women are different, because I think, right, I know people may disagree, but I think men are more fun than women when it comes to children, and
kids love men.
Children like that, but
yeah.
But it's a fear, and you can see it in action. Even when I go down to the school gates, that there's like 3 or 4 groups of women, all gossiping, constantly chattering, right?
Obviously.
And the men that go down to pick up their kids, me included, we stand alone, by ourselves in our own little space, But see, when you're listening to the women gossiping, it's either they're talking about somebody else or there's something wrong with them. They've got a sore leg, or they've got a sore knee, or they've got a sore ass, or they've got sore tits, or some other shit, It's constant moaning and spreading rumours about people. Horrible. But I know it's easy to say, oh, well, you shouldn't care what people think. But when those people are thinking that you're having sex with children, and they're telling other people that you're having sex with children, it's difficult to not care what people think, because a random guy in the street might believe that and then come and attack you because,
it's
so shite.
It's your reputation.
Yes.
It's sullied there as well. That's your honour, for fuck's sake. And if you spend your life thinking, I've had a good think about like where I stand on certain moral issues, and I think I've taken the most right stance, the best stance that does the least harm to the most people, and I spend my time, I was walking with my girlfriend past a school the other day, and these kids had kicked their ball out and they rolled down the road, and they were just like, oh, well, now we can't play football. So I spent like 5 minutes chasing after this ball, and I went and gave them their ball back. You know, there was nothing in it for me. I just thought that would be a nice thing to do. That would be the right thing to do. You know, and so I did it. And so if you know, and it was just for myself really. I did. You know, it was to say, you know, I knew that was the right thing to do, and I fucking did it, even though it was slightly more hassle than it was worth, really. You know, the kids were like, yeah, thanks very much, mister, sort of thing. And I was, fine, I felt pretty good about it. And, you know, it's small things like that I tend to like, that's how I kind of build my own impression of what I'm like. And don't worry, I know I'm terrible in other aspects, but at least I can say I do good things when I see them, you know. And so if some fucking cunt is going around by my going, well, he came to pick up that child today, and he was just standing by himself like a pedo, or something like that. I'm like, fuck you, you fucking cunt. You know what I mean?
It's pure paranoia as well, though. I mean, It's just like, well, I'll give you an example of paranoia. The other day, I'm in the park, right, with my son, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're running about. He's running about,
yeah.
And in the park comes a police car, right, and it drives right past me and my son. And the two police in the car, they're eyeing me up and down, you know, and then they drive away again. Right? Now, at first I was thinking, they're just driving through the park. You know, it was like 3:30 in the afternoon. It was bright. The sun was out, right?
Yeah.
There's people in the park. But my paranoia told me that somebody phoned those police to see if that was my son with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was just my paranoia. Maybe the police, maybe they were just doing their rounds. Maybe they're supposed to go through the park at that particular time. I don't know, but I just got this feeling that, oh man, they're here to see if I'm snatching him away, or if I'm.
They're presuming that you're guilty.
I hope I was wrong. You know, I hope I was wrong, but there's just that paranoia. You know, when you were a child, I remember Bill Burr. He done a good skit about it, and he was saying, you can't talk to them, and now he puts his hands in the air and he says, I'm not aroused, I'm not touching your child, look, I'm not touching your child, you know. And that's what it's like now. You're paranoid to be around your own child, because people might think, oh, hang on.
Like black teenagers are like around American cops, you know. That's what it seems.
Maybe.
I've seen videos and stuff where, you know, these American cops are being. I'm not saying this is all police, but you know, in these videos, the cops are just being oppressive cunts. They're being twats to this kid because he's black and he's just walking down the street, and the kid's just like, I've done nothing. What are you talking about? I've got nothing on me. I'm going to work, you know. And they're like, well, you know, we're going to have to do this. He's like, you don't have any rights to do it. And they're like, oh, now you're resisting. And you know, they start manhandling him. And then you know, I think in this one that you got end up getting tased or something. And it's just like, you know, it's just like that. It's the same thing. These kids must just be like, shit, a cop just walked past, or you know, drove past. Now they're scared because this, you know, and it's the same sort of thing. You know, I'm not saying that it's anywhere near as bad, but it puts the fear into your head. And you don't deserve that. Who deserves that?
And you never know. You never know for certain whether it was, like you say, with the black guy in the police. He doesn't know for certain if it was because he was black, or was it just a random stop and search. Just like, I don't know for certain if they were called, those police, or they just happened to be on their rounds and I just happened to be there. I don't know. You know, we'll never know, but paranoia, you know, paranoia takes over.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's that sort of infecting someone else's mind that is really scary, because there's absolutely no reason that you should have been worried about that. You know,
no, I know exactly. I know. I mean, I wouldn't let it get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm not coming to the park anymore. You know, I mean, I'm not going to stop taking my boy to the park. But it's just that thought that somebody may have seen me with a young boy and thought the worst. Whereas I would think, if that did happen and it was a woman with a young boy, would they have even thought anything of it? You know,
even though statistically, you know. So yeah, it's pretty evil. I don't like it. No, I really don't.
No. But then it doesn't help when there's policies in place telling men they can't sit on a plane seat next to a child. You know?
Oh my God, I was so fucked off about that.
It's so ridiculous, though.
It's disgusting.
So ridiculous.
If I was on the plane and I saw that happening, I would be fucking furious.
I think I'd have to say something, even if it wasn't me. Even if it wasn't me being moved, I think I'd have to say something, you know, say, this is fucking out of line, you're treating him like this.
Yeah, I'd just be leaning over like, how dare you? What evidence do you have that he's going to in any way touch that child?
But not just that. What they're saying as well, that because you're male, you're likely to do something bad to this child, whereas the woman, she's saintly. We can put her next to a child, and we know that she'll never put a cigarette out in the child or slap the child, or you know what I'm saying? Why are women granted this sainthood? You know,
it's because they've managed to. Because men will fall for it. That's why. That's the only fucking reason. Men will believe it. You know, they won't.
People are scared to challenge it because they'll get called sexist, misogynists if they do. They can't challenge it. It's
and I think I need to find the study, because there have been studies done that just show that everyone sides with women. You know, women side with other women, and men side with women on the whole. So it's just one of those things where it's like, it's going to happen because everyone's like, oh, well, she's a woman, so she must be telling the truth for some fucking reason.
Remember that? I put a video up with this woman and a man were doing this experiment, and she was going into a shop and saying, basically, I'm hungry, can I get a free burger? Flirting with the guys, and she got a free burger, and he tried it, he didn't get anything. She pretended her car was broken down,
Oh, yeah.
And all these guys stopped to help her. The guy pretended, nobody stopped to help him. But anyway, this was clear that people will help women where they won't help men. But she took all this and twisted it around and said that was a sign of oppression, that she was being oppressed.
Oh, my
you know
God.
What I'm saying?
The
fact that he was getting free stuff was oppression, and he wasn't. And the fact that people were stopping to help her was her being mistreated in some way. Nobody stopped for the guy because they presumed he could sort it himself. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a very twisted way, I can see why they are saying it, because the woman's getting special treatment, which means she's not equal.
No.
Loads of guys stopped to help her, which means those guys thought, well, fuck, that woman is definitely not capable of solving her problem. Whereas obviously for the man, they thought, well, he's got it covered. But that isn't about sexism specifically. I think that there's a large biological component to that.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, it's what women repeatedly fucking prove. If women were literally like the feminist Hollywood ideal, where they were on top of everything, they could beat the shit out of anyone, they were like little ninjas, all this sort of. If that were true and women displayed it on a daily basis, it'd be the other way around. No one would stop for a woman. They'd see that woman go, fuck that. She's probably about to throw the car over her shoulder and carry it home. There is no need for me, a man, to help her because she's so goddamn superior. But obviously reality doesn't bear that out in any way. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Men are the ones who fix all the fucking problems. And so they see a man with a problem and think, well, he's got it covered. And 9 out of 10 times I bet they do. I bet they're like, fine, I'll call AAA or whatever I need to do to fix this problem. But yeah, so I think women are the architects of their own misery there, to be honest.
And it's basic stereotyping as well, though. I mean, that's all it is stereotyping. You see a woman next to a car broken down, you presume she doesn't know what she's doing. You see a guy, you may think, he might know. Because the thing with guys is, guys will open the part of the car with the engine. I don't know if it's a trunk. They wouldn't call it a trunk here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the hood.
The hood, they'd lift the hood up and they'd have a look and see if there's anything they could sort. I mean, how many times have you seen just on the street a couple of guys with the hood up in a car looking in it, and there's nothing wrong with the car, they're just looking? Women don't do that. I've never seen women looking at an engine.
They just don't have an interest in it by and large. I'm sure there are one or two that do,
but it creates a stereotype where you just presume men know about cars and women don't. Yeah. The same with children as well. You presume women know best when it comes to children, and men don't. It's just the way people are.
I mean, this is what I mean. Stereotypes exist for a reason. They exist because these things happen a lot. And I'm not saying that stereotypes aren't necessarily a good or a bad thing. They just exist. But yeah,
they exist for a reason as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't get stereotypes that are false. You only get stereotypes that aren't all encompassing.
People don't get to choose them either.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that upsets people that they can't choose their own stereotype. Because if we could choose our own stereotype, it would be great. But we can't. We just don't get to do it.
Yeah. People wish they could write their own fucking reviews, don't they?
Yes.
So Robert Graham, I think you covered his question about your accent.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just figured answer his.
He's got a question for you, hasn't he? What
Yeah.
was the question?
It's, have you considered doing more videos in the vein of your recent Heroes of History series? For example, a smaller mini-series of events or people you find interesting but wouldn't fill out a multi-part episode. Yeah, I have, actually. I've been thinking about doing events specifically because there are some really exciting events, whereas the rest of the person's life isn't necessarily that exciting. So it's something I probably will do, just in case anyone's interested in that. So Joe Byrne asks, do you think that we spokesmen for the MRM need to refine the language we use?
Well, like, you mean like swearing and stuff? Is that, you can cancel all that out?
I think he's actually talking about some sort of orthodoxy. Like the feminists have got their white cisgendered, heteronormative, these sort of words that are, they're like technical language,
Mm-hmm.
Only people on the inside know them, which is that's why they can use them to baffle the fucking mainstream, where there's like, a cisgendered, heteronormative white oppressor, and they're just like, well, fuck, I didn't understand any of that. These people must know something.
I had to look that up. When I first seen that cisgendered CIS, I thought it was initials for something. I didn't have a clue what it was. I had to look that up. Yeah, it's like, what the fuck is this shit? It's all that rubbish, man.
What's it actually mean? I've never really looked it up.
Well, it means that you're straight, doesn't it? It means that you're, but you fit them what you are. Like, if you're a man, you're a heterosexual man, and if you're a woman, you're a heterosexual woman. You fit the mold of what you are, rather than you're born female but you want to be a man, or
yeah.
I think it's another word for normal. God.
Oh, it's fucking awful. But about the idea of orthodoxy, well, yes and no, I think, is my response to that. Because, I mean, on the one hand, it would carry benefits. It would allow us to get the edge over people and baffle them with bullshit, like the feminists do, by virtue of these people not knowing the proper meaning or the real interpretation of the phrases we're using. But conversely, it's going to put us in the same category as the feminists, where we appear to be talking shit. So,
well, you don't want that. We don't need to do that.
Exactly. I think that just using plain English is more than enough to completely destroy their position. And I think that we run the risk of alienating people if we do that. I mean, if he's saying about refining like the language, like the strong language, maybe. But again, one of the things that drew me to this kind of sphere was the passion. I'm very passionate about the things I believe, I guess, and frankly, a lot of this fucks me off. I am fucking furious, and I get a few people saying, I love it when you get stressed out and like you start, fucking idiot, and I can't help it. They're just such fucking idiots, So
they're just words after all, That's it. I mean, if he is talking about refining it, as in, not swearing, and as I say, you speak the way you speak, you be who you are. If people don't want to accept you like that, that's their problem, and they don't have to listen to you. But don't change who you are or the way you speak, except unless it's to be understandable, so people know what you're saying, But no, I'm all for swearing. Swearing's good. Everybody swears.
Yeah. And not only that, I think that sanitizing these things, it's control, isn't it? Ultimately, if they're gonna be like, look, I don't want you to swear, I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck if you don't want me to swear. That's the problem. You are trying to control what I'm going to say, even if it's indirectly through me thinking, I probably shouldn't swear because it's going to alienate some of my audience. Fuck that. It's fuck it. That's my answer.
No, as control, it's a way to control what you're saying as well. So, for example, you could be saying something that's true, but then they can go, oh, well, there's no need to use that language, and try to rule out what you said. But the way I see it, if people don't like the swearing, I would prefer that they didn't listen to me rather than expect me to not swear. I won't go out my way to swear just for the sake of it, but if I'm talking about something and I get a bit heated or whatever, I will maybe swear. It just happens. It really is just natural. It's not something that's ever deliberate, really.
Frankly, I think that if you're not swearing that yet, you haven't been paying attention. You don't know how fucking bad shit has got.
People think it invalidates what you say, and oh no, you can't be taken seriously. Like, well, we don't all speak like politicians reading off a teleprompter. Sometimes we speak passionately about stuff, and we may swear now and again. But so what, man?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I'm not asking you to fucking vote for me. So, don't vote for me. It won't affect anything that I'm doing, It won't affect what I'm saying, and it won't affect the people who, are enjoying that part of it. So...
There's a time and a place, I mean, if you're talking to the doctor, you don't want him saying, right, look at the fucking state of your broken leg. You know what I'm saying? You want him to be a bit professional, or her,
Of course, yeah.
No, but there's a time and a place, But I don't ever think, oh, that person's swearing, therefore I don't like what they're saying. But I suppose there is times when it's like, do you really have to be swearing then?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Like I watch rap battles, for example, right? Now, I love rap battles, but see when they're being presented, the presenter swears all the time, and I usually think, well, that's inappropriate because you're presenting a show, Whereas, sometimes I think, well, there's no real need for it, but then sometimes it's perfectly fine. But
yeah, I mean,
I'm not really for refining language.
In the context of videos, I think that the idea, I just think it's a method of trying to control. It's an attempt to try and maintain control of a dialogue that they have lost control of. I don't subscribe to anything that they're saying. And fuck them is my answer. DDK992 asks, what makes you think a woman may have a natural inclination to play with dolls and a boy with trucks/Lego? Is it possible that these things are learned when a kid is given these toys at a very young age, influencing their preference?
I asked that one when you were away. That's when I was talking about the Nintendo toys for my son,
Right.
and the Jessie doll out of Toy Story.
Yeah.
It's a whole boy and girl thing, because I know girls that like playing with trucks and cars, and Lego is for everybody. And if any Americans are watching, right, it's Lego, and if it's plural, it's Lego. Never ever Legos. Don't ever say Legos. You sound stupid when you say it. Don't ever say it. But I think toys like that are for every sex, both sexes. But
I think that
boys are always going to like trucks.
Yeah, I mean, I would never tell my child or another child at all that they can't play with something, because I think that's it's their freedom of choice. I want them to know that they're the masters of their own fate. So by choosing, they can choose what they want. But I do think that there's a natural inclination for girls to play with dolls and for boys to play with other things, like trucks and Lego, because fundamentally it's about what these things are. What can a boy do with a doll? Not that much. I've had lots. I was a teenage boy. I was a young boy. I had lots of boyfriends, and everything that we did was focused on like either making something or playing out a battle or something like that. There was a goal. At the end there was always a goal. And if you give a boy a doll, what is his goal with the doll? It's nothing. He's just going to comb its hair. What am I? Give it tea. What this isn't
cannon fodder.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And one of the things that I've noticed, I've got a large extended family. I've got like something like 18 cousins, and I'm the third oldest. So when I was growing up, I dealt with a lot of kids younger than me. When we all have big family get-togethers and stuff. And fundamentally, a boy can turn anything into a weapon, a pretend weapon. If you give two boys a bunch of Barbie dolls, and they'll be hitting each other with the fucking Barbie dolls. So it's about what they can do with the things. And with Legos and trucks, they can build and change things and stuff like that. Whereas girls seem to have more like a sort of maintenance style focus to their play. They seem to like making things neat and arranged. Whereas boys they do, I'm not saying that this is universal, it's all and all that sort of thing, but I do think there's a natural inclination towards one or the other based on gender. I mean, it wouldn't be like it was if it wasn't, because I think that society is a gender construct, and these things are just enhanced because it's, like Lego with their with Anita Sarkeesian's bloody video on Lego, where they made Lego gender neutral, and it turned out that only boys bought it, and it's like, well, there we go. There we go. That proves it. That is proof that there is a natural inclination towards boys for building.
Because they like building, aye. That's
exactly.
Like constructing.
Yeah, so I think they do.
I think I've upset I don't troll. Fuck you, good fella. I am unsubbing. I think he must have said Legos at some point, and I've upset him.
Well, I'm genuinely surprised.
It must be joking, surely.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I mean, what time do you have to go, man?
I'm no hurry to go hurry to go anywhere.
That's cool. So I'm quite enjoying doing these questions. This was great. These questions were Goodfella's idea, and it was a great idea. I wish I'd thought of it.
It's good at least if we're talking about something, the people listening, are having a say in what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been watching the feed go by, actually. I've been a bit bad on it, so I've probably got loads of criticism now I haven't seen. Right, Michael Harrison asks, what's the best way to combat the British brainwashing corporation and their relentless feminist propaganda and misandry? Yesterday's dose came when they engineered a story about street harassment of women and even got a bloody male actor in to do the harassment the way they wanted it. This was followed by a plug for the Everyday Whining Project, at which point I wish I had a time machine so I could go back and kill John Logie Baird, which is as a comment, I'm going to like that. That gets a thumbs up, because that's an excellently formed comment. What do you reckon?
Well, a minute, sorry, I was reading the bits at the side there as well. Right, so he was asking the BBC, right? I think the best thing that's going to happen to the BBC is somebody is going to have to take a lawsuit to the European courts, right? Yeah. Because I think what the BBC do is illegal, right? They keep putting letters through my door to the occupier. They go directly in the bin, right? I don't pay for a TV license, right? I've never paid for a TV license. If they push me on it, I will take them to court, because they are forcing me to pay for something that's not a tax, right? That I have not asked for. I have not signed any agreement that I want any BBC TV or radio or anything like that. I do not want anything that they've got to offer, and I'm being told
away for free.
that I need to pay to have a TV license because their programs are on my TV. I don't want the programs. I don't want their channels. I'm not interested in their feminist propaganda.
Yeah, but they give it away for free as well. They broadcast it to the whole fucking world for free. Sorry, I'm not paying for that.
But they get advertising on their YouTube, BBC Worldwide YouTube as well. So where the fuck is that money going?
Yeah, exactly. So I totally agree. I mean, I'd never pay for it.
Well, I'll look at it like a business. Say I open a business in your area, right? And I sell apples, right? And every day I put 3 apples through your door, and then at the end of the year I say, right, there's the money you owe me for those apples that you did not ask for. You did not request these apples. I gave you them anyway, but you now owe me money, and we'll take you to court if you don't pay it. That's what the BBC are doing.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I do not want. I have no interest in it, and then they're demanding I pay for it. No, I'm not paying for it. I haven't agreed to pay for it. I am not paying for it. No fucking way am I paying for it. And I think this will happen someday, where somebody will take them to the European court and it will be ruled illegal, and then the BBC will have to start advertising to get their revenue. That's what I think.
I don't mean to keep going back to Russia, but one of the things that constantly I hear when I'm having a political debate is, I'll say, look, Russia today have got this article, and they've backed it up, where their investigative journalist has gone into Ukraine or wherever, found this is happening, and they're reporting it, and then they just go, oh, well, that's just Russian state-run propaganda. And I'm like, sorry, you just presented me with a link from the BBC. What is the difference? Oh, it's because it's our propaganda.
That's different.
God, yeah, and it pisses me off. I mean, just watch when there's a political party change, watch the tone of the content change. You know, from when Labour went out to the Tories came in, the tone of it's different. And, you know, everything before was very pro-Labour, anti-Tory, and now all of a sudden it's very pro-Tory, anti-Labour. And it's just like, well, look, it's not even subtle, you know? And so it does my sweet. It's just like, it's obviously not the impartial news organisation it wants to be.
No, it's not. It's not just that. See the BBC, see the other programmes they put out, they're all centred around London, you know? I mean, everything's fucking London. Even Doctor Who, a man who can go to any dimension, any point in time, anywhere in the universe, every week he's in London.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's just... No, all this money is coming from all over Britain, but yet all the programmes are set in London. It's very odd. Very odd.
I don't really blame them for that necessarily, because, you know, if I were doing it, I'd probably get lazy too. I'd be like, look, we could, you know, travel all the way up to, like,
laziness.
Yeah, it is laziness, you know, but that's what it is. I mean, I'd be like, look, we could just pop over there and do some filming, or we could fly all the way to Glasgow and do some filming. What are we going to do? We're just going to go over there and knock off early, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily blame them, but...
They've got like correspondents as well, right? You'll have like something will happen in Liverpool and they'll have a Liverpool correspondent, and then something will happen in fucking Manchester and they'll have a Manchester correspondent. If something happens in Glasgow, they've got a Scottish correspondent. They just covers the whole country, you know? Fuck's sake. Unreal, man.
Yeah.
I don't like the BBC. Totally against them. I think they'll be out of business soon. They can't keep doing this. The government can't force you to pay for something. This isn't a tax. This is wrong. This is completely wrong.
Yeah.
It can't last. It can't last.
It's one of those things that I'm a bit conflicted about it, actually, because, I mean, it was set up by, like, respectable people. I think David Attenborough set up the BBC, and so I believe that when it was set up, it probably was as they wanted it to be, how they envisaged it. You know, a very neutral, factual service. You know, because that was the sort of that was the time. You know, that was the sort of thing they did. But I mean, there's no media is like that now. You know, I mean, it's so even if they're not deliberately lying, they are so unintentionally biased against whatever it is that is opposing us. In this case, Russia, particularly. I'm sick of the demonization of Russia. I'm really sick of it. And the demonization of Putin. It's just like he has saved so many lives. You know, he has prevented an American invasion of Syria, and it would have been like Iraq. You know, it would have been like Libya. It would have been a bloodbath. And so I know it's not.
Is it definitely prevented?
Sorry?
Is it definitely prevented? Is it definitely prevented, or could it not still happen?
I mean, you know, at time of speaking, he has prevented it. I mean, it might in the future they might find a way of trying to do it. I don't know, but I think that's been unsuccessful. I think the momentum for it's gone. The public opinion was definitely against it, and you know, and that puts Putin on the side of the populace. So it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's questions like, what's the best way to combat BBC's propaganda and their misandry? And you know, I don't know, because I can't just say don't watch it, because then you're just uninformed, because there are plenty of idiots who do watch it and now they know more than you do. But if you watch it, then you're supporting it, because they don't know that you're watching it to get an argument against them. So all they'll do is they'll look at their statistics and say, hey, we've had like 10 million more viewers, and then everyone else will say, well, they've had 10 million more viewers, so they must be really popular. You know, so it's not like you can just you can't vote with your wallet, in, you know, metaphorically, in this sort of situation. So
no,
frankly, I think attacking what the BBC actually is really the only way, because like you say, it's wrong. It is wrong to extort people out of money, because for a state-run propagandistic network, and it absolutely is. I mean, you know, I could make a very solid case for it, just based on the transition between Labour and Conservative, because it was something I was very aware of when it was happening, you know. So that's the only way to, and I know it's kind of ad hominem, but at the end of the day, I don't see any other way of doing it. I don't really see any other way of doing it.
I mean, they had a lot of control for a lot of years, the BBC, when it came to propaganda all over Britain.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
They had a lot of power. They remember. I remember. I don't know if you're as old as me, but I remember there being only 3 channels, and then Channel 4 came along.
I don't remember that
Channel 5.
Yeah, I remember Channel 5.
Now we've got a million channels, you know. But, so the fact that we still need to pay for a BBC license when, you know, it's absurd. I can't believe it still happens.
The BBC going, really, isn't it? I mean, you know. I don't think they're constant. I mean, I love the quota as well. You know, half of our panel shows must be women. My girlfriend hates female comedians. She fucking hates them with a passion. She's just like, the women on there were just awful. I'm just, you know, trying not to just pat her on the back. Go, that's good, darling. I'm glad to hear it. You know?
That Dara O'Brien, he was talking about that, right? And at first I was agreeing with him, but then he said something that annoyed me, right? He was talking, remember the female quotas for female comedians?
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying it just makes every woman look like a token from now on, right? And of course it does. But what he said was they should have done it quietly. They shouldn't have publicised that they were going to do it. Whereas I think, no, they shouldn't be doing it at all.
That's the worst thing to do.
It's the worst thing, especially with something like comedy. It's making people laugh that counts. We will not be forced to laugh at people just because they've got a vagina. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to pretend somebody's funny if they're not. No way.
Yeah, the only thing funny about
not funny
comedians is the concept of feminist comedian. You know, it's like you say, it's one of those things that you can't lower the bar to entry for. You know?
No way.
You're either funny or you're not. And if you're not funny, get the fuck on. You know, get out. I'm not interested.
And that's where the public will have to be honest as well, because they can't fake their laughter all the time. They won't watch a woman who is not funny on stage, you know.
I'd be interested to see them doing it. I'd be interested to see them, like, you know, how far are they going to take this? Are they going to double down and be like, you know what, no, we're all going to go to that feminist comedian show, and we're going to sit there and all pretend to laugh together, and then pat ourselves on the back for at least doing, you know, the pretense of it? I mean...
But imagine being a woman in Britain, right, and you were genuinely funny, right, and then one of these shows invited you on. You're going to just think, well, hang on, I don't want to do that because I'm actually funny. But if I do this, people will think I'm not funny, and I'm only there because I'm a woman. It's a really terrible way to treat women. It's so sexist. It's so fucking sexist towards women, but yet they think they're doing them a favour.
Yeah, that's entirely the problem of quotas. Ultimately, you know, no matter what, no matter how good an intention it comes from, it devalues the people who got there without the quota, and you can never be sure that you did in the end get there without the quota. So it's self-defeating. It's crazy, but you know, it's easy, isn't it? You know, that's the thing. Feminists can whine, they get their quotas, and now they don't have to actually be funny to be on TV on a comedy show. Bizarre.
And women can be funny, but I'm just not going to laugh at ones that are not funny, you know?
Yeah, when they're fat enough and they fall over hard enough.
But there's just more men who are funnier than women, you know? Yeah. I don't know why women can't accept that. But
who was it that got panned for saying it was Lee Mack or something? He got strung up by the feminist brigade where he basically said, look, men are forced to be funny, you know? Women are attractive.
Right. There's more reasons for men to be funny, because it's not like a man will go with a woman because she's funny, you know. Whereas if men don't have money and riches, you know, being funny helps a lot with women. You know, so there's more of a reason for men to be funny. There's not as much for women to be. Women don't have to be funny ever.
Yeah, there's no call for it. In fact, I mean, most women are just. I mean, they're the opposite. They're fucking killjoys a lot of the time. You know, they're the ones who come in and the fun like disappears when they arrive. You know? But yeah, okay. You did the sperm banks question already, didn't you?
Sperm banks one.
What is your view regarding the end of female reproductive advantage by criminalising sperm banks and simply getting rid of them altogether?
Oh, I know.
Equivalent for men.
I think that they'll always right.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously there can't be enough equivalent for men without significant technological things. But I mean, I don't think sperm banks in themselves are a bad thing. If the poor woman needs, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about sperm banks. What do you think?
Well, I don't think they'll ever close. There'll always be a use for them, but I would prefer if a woman is going to go to the hassle of going to a sperm bank. The whole thing is she wants her own child. This is the thing.
Yeah.
I would prefer them to just go for adoption, because there's plenty of kids that could do with a home,
Yeah,
But the thing is, they want their own child, and it does mean you can't just get any child. It has to be your own child. So I suppose there'll always be sperm banks, always.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against the idea, but I do wonder how much good it's doing, because I'm very much of the opinion that a family needs to have a mother and a father to do a good job of raising children.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, and it's not like it's impossible for a single parent to raise a child. But yeah, it just becomes so much more difficult. And I'm not even thinking like from a moralistic standpoint. I'm thinking from a pragmatic standpoint, as in it's a lot of work to maintain a house, have a job, and raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's normally a two-parent thing, But now it's, even if it's two parents, it's having two jobs, a household, and a child. So, you're just making things difficult for yourself by being a single parent who works. It's not.
The ideal situation is the mum and the dad and the child. So that is the ideal situation,
Yeah, I'd say.
The Sharpful is saying, touchy subject maybe, but I'd like to know your guys' opinion on NWALT. I'm always annoyed when I see folks generalising women with the usual cold, hypergamous bitches, only after resources kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was on a thread before, Dean Esme, he was in it as well, and somebody came in and said, Ewalt, enough women are like that, and I thought that was a good one, I just can't remember who it was that said it, but the thing is,
that's a good one, yeah.
Obviously not all women, they're not all cold, hypergamous bitches who are only after resources. That's obvious, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are hypergamous. They'll only go for a higher status man. A lot of them are like that. And a lot of them are only after resources. And they show this, especially when they leave a man. Why can't they just fucking leave? Why do they have to have alimony? Why do they have to have his pension? Why do they have to have his future income? Why do they need all this? There's so many women that are like this. So okay, no Walt, not all women are like that, but Walt, enough women are like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know women who aren't like that. And what I mean is, I know women who have met a man they genuinely respect and love, and through times of hardship and times of plenty, they've been happy with that man, because they're kind of small town traditionalist women who, they don't come from a big city, they didn't get indoctrinated when they were a child, and so they just want like a good man who they can marry and be with for the rest of their lives. It's that fantasy. And I know, probably about 5% of the women I know are like that, but there are women like that, So I do think that, and they're not looking to trade up. And I'm not saying that it's not a fantasy, because everyone has like the fantasy of suddenly scoring the perfect, mate. But then they're not stupid enough to think that it's going to pan out. That's the thing. They're looking at what they've got and thinking, no, this is good. I've got a man who loves me. I've got a future with him. I can see where it's going. I'm going to do my part and stick with it. When they're out with their friends, they'll be like, yeah, wouldn't that be cool, blah, blah, or funny or whatever. But they're not stupid enough to do it. And I think that any person, when given a more preferential alternative, will certainly be tempted to take the alternative. It's just whether you live in the female fantasy land, that it's actually going to be, he's not going to be, the bad boy of, you can change him and stuff. Oh, bollocks, can you? You can't do shit. You're going to get used and then you get left on your own and you're like, how did this happen to me? So it's just about being a realist, I think.
It'd be good if there was a way to confirm. It'd be good if there was a way to confirm the difference between the ones that are not like that and the ones that are like that, right? Like, for example, you might have one that is not like that, but as soon as she wants to leave you and the lawyers get a hold of her, then she can be like that. It's not that she will. It's not that she definitely will. It's that she has the power. She can, if she wants to, be one of those that are like that, and it can change. She can be not like that for years, and then all of a sudden become one that's like that. You know. So how do us men tell the difference? You can usually tell the difference. Women can usually tell the difference with men. You know, if they're a good man or a bad man, that's usually easy enough to tell before getting into a relationship. But how the hell is a man supposed to know that a woman will not, you know, turn into one of those women after a few years?
I actually think that's quite easy. If she ever says that she deserves something, she's going to be like that. If she never says that she deserves something, then she's not going to be like that, I think. You know, because that's the one thing that all of these women have in common, right? They're humble. They're happy with what they have, and they don't think that they deserve more. You know.
But can they withstand the pressure, though?
Well,
you know, can they withstand the pressure of a lawyer saying to them, "Look, you don't have to say anything. I'll say everything. You don't have to do anything. I'll do everything. You can get half his pension. You can get half of this. You can get this. You can get that. You don't have to do a thing. I'll do it all for you." Can they withstand that pressure?
I don't know, and I can't say that they can. You know, I'm not. But I think that the ones I'm thinking of, the friends I have who I'm thinking of, it would be hard for me to envisage, even with a lawyer saying, "Look, you're going to get all this stuff." That's not what they want. You know, even if they were to, you know, to divorce their husbands or split up with boyfriends, it's not. They were never there to get his stuff. You know. They were there to fulfill their dream of being married to someone who loves them and to have a proper family relationship. So I do think that these women probably wouldn't like ask for more than they realistically do deserve, you know. And these women never use the phrase "I deserve something." They never use it. They don't have this kind of entitlement complex that a lot of women these days do, and it sucks. Like you said, enough women are like that, which is the problem. You know,
that is the problem.
It needs to become shameful. That's the thing. It needs to be something that, like wife beating, it needs to be something that other women shame each other for.
Yes.
Until that's the case, it's never going to change.
But that's always going to be. You're always going to get the ones that go, "Oh, you go, girl." You know.
Exactly.
People are mentioning Dmitry Rybolovlev, who has to pay. Let me just check to see how much it is. 2.68 billion of his half his fortune to his ex-wife in a divorce.
What?
You know, Jesus Christ, man!
You can't justify that.
2.68 billion. You know, half his 51% of his 51%. Jesus Christ!
That is
and
just
it's like
disgusting.
There's no way she needed all that. You know, but again. It's because it goes back to him. I would say, well, you shouldn't have got married, you know, because it's easy to say that, but then maybe he thought she wasn't like that, and then all of a sudden she turns into one of those women that are like that. You know?
To be honest with you, I think if you're a billionaire, you can never find a woman who isn't like that. You know.
No, it'd be very difficult to trust any of them.
You simply wouldn't meet any women who are not like that, you know.
At least he's not going to be homeless or anything, but still, that amount of money, you know. I bet I've not read the whole story, but I bet he even offered her a good few bob, you know, that they've kept her for life.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't have been happy with that. She wanted half. I want everything.
Yeah, it's enough women are like that. I like that term. I'm going to remember that. So that's a very good.
Yeah, that's all it is. Enough women are like that. That's enough to put you off. And it's not nice. I know it's not nice to say that about women, you know, but women need to hear it. And like you said, they need to start ridiculing other ones that are doing it. Stop saying "you go, girl." Stop celebrating it. Call them out for the whores that they are. But they won't.
This is actually my problem, right? Because this is what shame fundamentally is about, right? It's about the prevention of an unnecessary exercise of power. For example, I could just walk down the street beating the shit out of women, and there is nothing that's going to stop me apart from other men. you know, and apart from laws, obviously, but, you know, that side, you know, the actual pragmatic balance of power means that I can abuse as many women as I want, and the only thing that's ever going to stop me is another man, right? And I don't do it because society as a whole would condemn me. Even if somehow I, you know, bribed the courts or whatever, I got out of it scot-free, I'm never going to find a friend. No one's going to want to spend their time with me. That's it. I have been ostracized from society because I'm someone who exercises their power, you know, just wantonly and for my own benefit to the detriment of others. And that is what women in these courtrooms are like. They are exercising, they have the power to destroy someone's life, and they take it without thinking about it. And it's just like, that is the sort of thing that has to be shamed. You know, that is a shame-worthy offence, in my opinion, anyway.
But they won't shame them, though. Other women won't shame them.
It's because they're getting too much.
They know. Well, they know that they can benefit from it one day, so they don't want to say anything and spoil the opportunity.
Yeah. That is exactly it. One day it might be me, so you know I'm not going to speak up about this. You know,
there's a story, right, talking about it's women expecting money from people, right? There was this story I read a few years ago. It was a guy. He was charged with rape, right? He's a rapist, right? He raped this woman, right? Yeah. And he got prison time, 7 years or something, whatever. He came out of prison, right? He buys a lottery ticket and he wins the lottery, right? And this woman who he raped is now suing him to get some of that money. And it's like, but he served his time for the crime. Why would getting money from him make your rape, you know, any less stressful or severe? It doesn't make any sense. But it's just that she heard he came into money. Oh, I'm going to try and get my hands on that then. I've got a vagina. He victimised me, even though it's got nothing to do with the case, and he didn't win it when he was in prison or during the trial or anything like that. And she's trying to get the money for it. It's pure mental. But it's just, they see money, they've got to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say they, because again, enough women are like this. That's the problem, you know. But yeah, these people who are this way inclined, it's obvious, isn't it? You know, they've got the option and they're going to do it regardless of what it makes them look like, because no one's going to tell them that they're a fucking useless piece of shit that they should do, you know. So
we get women as well here. You'll have seen it because it's mainly a British press thing, right? Where every week in the paper, they don't do it as often now, but they used to do it all the time, and they would get some bimbo, you know, who's had sex with a footballer, and she'd sell her story to the newspaper, talking about their fling, or you know, or a classic one was Chris Tarrant's ex-wife. You know, Chris Tarrant gets a divorce, right? And then his ex-wife goes to the newspapers and starts talking about how he's shite in bed and he's got a small cock, you know, and it's like, but you've been married to this guy for about a decade or something. His small cock didn't seem to bother you all that time, you know, but all of a sudden you think it's okay to tell the public this because there's no shame. Men would be shamed if he done that, if he went like that. By the way, you should have seen her fanny. It was like a fucking wizard's sleeve, you know. There'd have been an outrage, man. There'd have been a big outrage about it. He'd have been called a misogynist. How could you say that about your ex-wife? But she says these things about him, and she's not judged harshly for this. No, there's no women coming out and saying she's fucking out of line. So there's no shame.
Yeah, that's the thing. Women have to start shaming each other about things that they do because, like I said, shame is the societal mechanism by which unreasonable exercises of power are kept in check. So they've got to sort it. They've got to do it themselves. We can't do that for them, you know. And until they start doing it, they don't seem to realise that, like, you know, like the things you do reflect on you. You know, the things you do are what make up you as a person. So if you are the sort of person who is going to be married to someone for 10 years and then go into a fucking public newspaper so the whole country can read it and then just say all these fucking childish things, you know, childish things. Even no matter what you say about Chris Tarrant, he's not done that. you have, you prick, you know, this woman, and so she is the one who I'm just looking at thinking, well, you're a petty, you know, you are all of these things. You're a petty, selfish, spiteful little bitch, you know, and every one of those words is directly applicable to you. So no matter what you've said about Chris Tarrant, yeah, okay, he's got a tiny cock, big fun deal. You are a spiteful, petty little bitch who'll go out of her way to try and demonize someone that doesn't want to be married to me. Yes, you know, and
I don't come away from the story thinking he's got a small cock. I come away from the story thinking she's a cunt. You know, she's just a childish cunt. So.
And that's the thing. They don't seem to realise that this reflects on themselves. You know. So yeah, I don't know. The atheist Izon asks, what's your opinion on the growing epidemic of women who beat their children for ludicrous reasons? Like that woman who killed her son for a blog attention, or that Chinese woman who beat her son black and blue. The scumbags at the Daily Mail gave no grace to the poor young boy when they failed to censor his naked body. I remember a huge outcry from the parents, but fuck all from the feminist community Tumblr fucks, which is exactly how I describe them. What do you think?
If it's boys, the children that are suffering are boys, they're not going to care anyway. But see some of the things I see just round about me, you know, the way women are with their children, the difference between mothers and fathers. Like, you see so many mothers shouting at their children, you know, and I'm talking about like toddlers, you know. Right, fucking move! Hurry up! Come on, move! You know, I would never speak to my child like that, ever. But I see it all the time. Maybe you're in a shop. Like I was in the shop yesterday with my son, and there was this woman there. She had like three kids with her. They're running riot, you know.
Yeah.
She's going next to them. She's going, no, you fucking can't get that. You fucking had enough. You know, put that down. Fucking put that back. Don't you fucking touch that. And these were small children, you know.
Jesus Christ,
and I'm thinking, fucking hell, man. I mean, I know I swear, but I don't talk to my son like that. That's fucking atrocious. Absolutely fucking atrocious, you know. Yeah. But this is how these children are raised, you know. And then that same mum that says to her child, fucking move, fucking hurry up, fucking asshole, this, that, and next thing, come on, you fucking idiot. That same woman will then go home and like a meme on Facebook that says mums are wonderful. She'll probably post a meme on Facebook that says mothers work so hard and are so precious, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I've seen these mothers in action. They're not fucking anything to write home about, but yet they get this public adulation for being mothers. Like, oh, they just don't deserve it, man.
See, these mothers, they piss me off, right? Because, like you're saying, you know, they're just shouting at their kids to stop them doing what they're doing, but they're not showing any authority. You know, it's just the kids are still doing it. You know, that's why they're at the end of their gourd. You know, they're just at the end of the rag and say, look, now I'm just so pissed off. Stop asking. You know, fucking, you know. And so if it's come to that position, that means the child has had no respect for when you have put your foot down and said no.
No.
The second. Exactly. This is what I mean. I mean, my dad was quite a disciplinarian, but it was a good thing, you know. And in later years, he's tried to apologise because he's seen how just feminized the world has become, and he raised me like his dad raised him, and he's tried to apologise to me for being so stern. And I'm like, Dad, don't, you know, you can apologise for a lot of things, but not for that, because that was necessary, you know.
You have to be tough.
Exactly, because that's the thing. As soon as a child starts, can I have this? No. Right, okay, that's it. You're not getting anything else now, so don't ask. And then if that child continues to ask, you have to address why they are asking. And you have to come down like a fucking ton of bricks to make sure they understand, when I say something, I mean it. You don't go and
you have to follow through with your threats.
Absolutely.
And this happens all the time. Again, with women, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, hey, if you do that, you won't get this. But you know that they're not going to follow it through, so the child doesn't listen anymore, you know, because it's like, that's just an empty threat. But they need to follow it through, and then they'll know.
Yeah, absolutely, and they've got to. They end up getting to the point where they're losing their rag and they're screaming and swearing at their kids And I'm thinking, if you just address the problem at the source, you wouldn't get to that point, you know. But it's your poor parenting that means that this is why you're standing in the middle of Matalan or whatever, screeching at your bloody nightmare kids that you can't control. You know, and I would never have done that with my parents. You know?
No, I wouldn't have got away with that. No way, man.
Exactly.
Wouldn't have got away with that shit, man.
Yeah, either one, my mum or my dad would have been address the problem at the root rather than just let it fester and just no until it, you know. But yeah, it's probably a good thing I don't have kids actually, because I'd be quite stern with them, I imagine.
No, it's not. I used to think before I had a son, I thought it'd be fucking, I'd be shouting all the time and fucking, threatening to fucking scalp his ass, slap his ass if he gets out of line. But to be honest, you just need a good voice. See if you can shout quite well. You just, right, enough, and then that's it. Everything stops,
Yeah.
You certainly don't need to be doing that all the time, fucking barely once a week I need to fucking shout at them.
Well, that's the thing.
But that's where they go first. That's the first place they go, is shouting, and but
that's what I mean about authority, though. If you're shouting at your kids and it's not having any effect, they're still asking for this thing. You've got no authority over them. The only reason that you're in charge really is because you are larger than those children. That's the only thing. It's not that they think that you know better, and or anything like that, or they respect what you're saying. All Things Fishy asks, how would you see a feminist nation? I mean, a nation formed only by feminist women and no men. A feminist wet dream. How long do you think it would last, and how do you think
only feminist women?
Assume for this scenario they import sperm for reproduction.
So just an entire feminist country. I can picture lots of smoke, lots of cars turned upside down, destruction everywhere.
Oh, they wouldn't have
rubble, loads of buildings.
They don't make their own cars then. I mean, just
because remember, imagine there'd be no men. There'd be no men to take care of the roads. There'd be no men to take all the rubbish away. So it would be a shithole. It would be stinking everywhere. Because women aren't going to take that rubbish away. Women aren't going to dig up the roads and make it all. They're not going to be able to fix their own cars or delivery trucks. So getting food's going to be a major hassle for them. I suppose if women, or feminists rather, not women, if feminists can find a way to just live off of grass, then maybe we could have a feminist country. But until that happens, I don't think they've got a chance of running anything, to be honest. They couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery, as they would say.
I think it'd definitely go. They don't seem to be able to do anything without universal consensus. And so if they don't all agree on something, nothing's going to happen with it. So if by some miracle they all decided that yes, maybe we should build like a dam to create a reservoir so our feminist city or country has water, and something goes wrong on the dam and it floods, and you can either drain it or you could build a new dam around it, then you'd have people on either side and they'd just be like, well, no, that's it, it's just going to sit there and fester then because we can't decide. And that's what it'd be like. That's what it'd be like.
Channel 4 done a show probably about 5 years ago or something, and it was If Women Ruled the World. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, but I want to.
What they done was they got 10 women and 10 men, and they put them on an island, a desert island, but the women were in charge, right? So all the women, what they say goes, right? But they had to pick a leader as well, between themselves.
Yeah.
And the first leader in the very first episode, she comes out to talk to the men, and the first thing she said to them is, right, bitches, get over here. That was the first thing she said to the men, right? Anyway, this was
a revolution going on.
It must have been about 10 weeks, because there was 10 of them,
Yeah.
One leaves the island every week type of thing. And what I found quite interesting about it was at the end of it, all the 10 men who left the island, right?
Yeah.
Not one of them said that they would happily live in a world run by women. They all said, no, I wouldn't want that. So these women had this opportunity. Run it the way you want to run it. And if it was good, every one of those men would have been like, well, I want to live under a woman's rule. But yet every single one of them said, no, I would not want to live under women's rule. So they just completely failed the whole thing.
I mean, you can see the women just she's gone wrong from the sorry, go on.
It's just fighting. You know, that's all it is. And they'd fight over things like one being more popular with the men than the others. You know, daffy things like that men wouldn't even bother their ass fighting over. You know, but unreal.
Well, I mean, like her first thing is ego. It's like, oh, now, you know, like, oh, well, listen up, bitches, or whatever shit. I mean, that is the statement of someone who's gone mad with power. You know, you're showing no respect to the people who you want to lead or command. You know, I mean, they're not going to fucking follow you willingly, now are they? You know, I mean, that's literally that's before she's even opened her mouth, she's gone off the deep end with, you know, this power's gone to her head. Oh, I'm in charge. Brilliant. Now I must use the people under my power. It's like
it was like that all the way through the show, and these women seem to have this attitude that they should mistreat the men because men have mistreated women for years. You know, they live under this illusion that men have mistreated women for thousands of years, even though that's not happened. And so they think that now that they're in charge, they should mistreat the men. And it's like they've got it all wrong. They don't take into consideration all the things that men have done for them.
But not only that, two wrongs have finally made a right. You know, I mean, it's as if they, you know, it's just two wrongs don't make a right. If someone's being bad, then you being as bad as them doesn't make you any better than them. It makes you the same as them. You fucking idiots. You know, so if you're like, men have been so mean to us women, what are you going to do? We're going to be mean to the men. Well, then why would they give you the opportunity to go, you know, to be in charge?
It's a big part of feminism, that, though. A big part of feminism is, let's get back at men, because they think we've been at women. And even though, well, we haven't, our generation, but generations before us haven't mistreated women either. We've always been quite good with women. And, you know, now there's this kind of attitude where, you know, the Spice Girls' obnoxious attitude, let's kick back at the men and fight back at them, you know. Girl power. It's like, oh, fucking go away. Grow up, you know what I mean? God.
Don't talk to me about oxymorons, goddammit.
That's. I mean, it's always was funny to me that the Spice Girls had a male manager. You know, I always found that really ironic. You know, it's as ironic as you possibly get. Girl power, male manager, brilliant.
Just like the femin, though, isn't it? The radical fucking Ukrainian feminists who run around with the tits out. Yeah, the guy who like created them was a man, obviously. Yeah. He organised it as a man. He was like, yeah, I'll choose the attractive ones, and that'll get them on, you know, on TV and stuff. And it obviously did. And
like we were saying the last time with Sarkeesian, she's got a man behind her as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's men running the show.
Yeah. And I don't know why women aren't more insulted. You know, I'd be like, do you think I'm an idiot? You know, do you think I'm a fucking idiot? Because you sound like you think I'm an idiot. You know, it's baffling. But this whole fucking men have oppressed women for centuries. And it's like, A, it's not oppression, but B, it's not like men. I mean, it's weird how they talk about men as if men don't protect women, and surely just the sheer number of white knights around would say the opposite. You know, the fact that chivalry is such a major part of like Western culture as well. You know, all of these things go to show that men all obviously hold women in a position of privilege in their own minds. You know, women and children first, women this, women that, women the other. They're a very important thing to men, and so to say that men oppress them and beat them and stuff is just, it's hideously insulting, I think, anyway. I mean,
and it ignores everything negative that men have went through, like all the men that died in wars. I mean, for thousands of years it was men that fought in wars, you know. But just forget all that. Women had to cook now and again, you know what I mean, and clean a floor, for fuck's sake. God forbid, sorry.
Occasionally she may have
I think that's what they expect as well. They expect men to be apologetic, you know, basically for... Well, Bill Maher said that. It's like we've got to apologise just for being male, you know. And he's right. That's what it's like. You feel you've got to apologise just for being a fucking man. Just say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's disgusting, and that's the thing. You would never ask a black person to apologize for being black. You'd never ask
No.
anyone else to apologize for something they were born as. Apart from white men.
But I'd also as well, even if it was, if we look back in history, say 100 years ago, women mistreated men in some way. Well, that wasn't women today. I wouldn't blame them today and say, right, women, you owe us. That time's gone. Thankfully, thankfully that time's away now. It's past. It's not part of our living anymore. So we should be happy about that. But they keep going back, and then the doctor history, so that it sounds worse for them and sweet for men.
There's been a definitive retconning of history. Where, as you say, women were the victims in every way. But what annoys me is that everything they do violates the basic precepts of morality for me. I mean, the concept of the sins of the father not being the sins of the son is black and white. It's obvious. The son is obviously not responsible for what the father has done. Right? And yet, like you say, feminists want to punish men for things that other men might have done a long time ago that didn't happen to them. And the idea is just so offensive. It's just like, it's the most amoral thing you can do. So, and if you just take it out of context for 5 seconds and go, okay, so that woman is, she's got her foot on the neck of that man because she wasn't oppressed and he didn't oppress her. Is that what we're saying? And that is what they're saying, And so you can only see that as being right if you're an ideologue for feminism. That's the only way it can be right, and it's just like, it's disgusting. Absolutely.
You go back a wee bit further, and you can see that women were not mistreated. I've been watching for the last couple of weeks. I've been watching British Pathy, the old news clips. Do you know about them? Well, British Pathy they've put over 80,000 videos up on YouTube, right? Every one of their archives on YouTube, right? So I've been looking through their channel, and I was like going through the search looking for women and women's rights and stuff like that, And we're talking about like interviews on the street, 1942, talking about women earning the same as men. And these people are talking like everybody said, yes, of course they should earn the same, so long as they're doing the same work. This was in 1942, and it's just like while the men are at war, there's news clips about women waiting on their men coming back from war, And you could even see that these women, they were just pampered and spoiled. They weren't bitches though, like they are today, but they were more ladylike. They were spoiled. They still had a good life, even though the country was at war. And yet you were supposed to believe that these women were victims, held indoors by the evil man, forcing them to do housework. They had it really sweet. It's unbelievable how happy the women are in all these older clips, But a huge difference between women then and women now.
It's I mean, I'm reading. I'm almost finished reading Robert Tressel's Ragged Trousered Philanthropists, and it was written about, I think, 1910, 1915, something like that. And just the way he portrays the world, because the thing is, it's fiction, but all fiction is a product of its time. So how he talks about women is probably how he and men in general like viewed women, and he covers a wide spectrum of the family units of the lower classes, which is very interesting because on the one hand you've got this guy called Owen, who's he's a thinking man. He's like us, he's not rich, he's lower class, but he's a thinking man, and he's quite intelligent, and he's got a few talents that he's worked up to build, and he's using them to improve his lot. And then you've got other guys who, there's a guy who's a bit of a drunkard, there's a guy who's a gambler. There are other guys who are just people who are just going along to get along. They don't know what they're doing with their lives. They're just struggling to survive in a bad system. And one of the interesting things is that none of the men do anything that I would be able to term oppression towards the women, because the opinion is
No.
it's a family unit. You know, that's the thing. That's the overriding sort of way that he is looking at these families. And so when he's describing the women talking to the men, they talk to them like equals, you know, but they talk to them like people who've got different jobs. You know, she's concerned about how she's going to be able to afford. You know, he's earned like, you know, 3 shillings or something this week because there's been little work or whatever. And she's like, well, Christ, how am I going to make that stretch across all the things that need to be done? She doesn't say to him, you're oppressing me by only giving me 3 shillings. She empathizes with him. She's like, you know, she understands that he's done his best to try and find work, but the job environment is a lot like now, and it's shit. And so they've got fuck all to go with, and then she's got her problems to deal with. She doesn't blame him. She doesn't hold him responsible for the shit position. She understands that it's not entirely in his control. But what I'm trying to say is,
she's appreciative.
She actually is, yeah, and they support each other. You know, that's the thing. He'll come home and she's like, she's done needlework all day to try and earn a few more bob, and she's, you know, the place is tidy and she's all worn out and she's asleep in the chair after he gets back from work late and stuff. And so he does stuff for her. You know, he puts her, you know, he carries her to bed and all sorts. And it's very sweet. You know, and it's a different era, you know, where they actually cared about each other rather than this divisive sort of, oh, men are the issue. You know, it's really different, you know. But there's nothing that I would term oppression about the way he describes lower class life at the time. Nothing at all, you know. It's all people trying to get by.
It's all exaggerated. It's all exaggerated today.
It's exaggerated or fictionalized completely. I mean, you know. But, yeah,
well, if you look back then,
sorry.
if you would rather be somebody going to fight in another country and possibly not coming back, or staying at home and looking after a house, you know, which one would you rather? You know.
Well, I mean, we know that is worse for the women. You know, it is worse for the women.
It's hard to think they were oppressed, you know, but they just need to, if they would just accept that throughout history we've all went through shit, you know, but today we don't have to. Times have changed now. We don't go through anything like that anymore. Well, not
fucking grateful. That's
not in huge numbers.
But, right, exactly. It's midnight, so I'd better knock it on the head, really.
Cool. God, man, midnight already. Jesus Christ, man! I didn't know it was that long.
I when it got to 11, I thought, well, I better check. But yeah, it's, you know, well, I've had a good time. I hope everyone else.
I hope we've not bored people, and I hope I've not interrupted you too much. I hope I'm not cutting you off too much.
Well, no, not for me, not at all.
Cool.
You know, same here. But I mean, you know, if you want to do another one of these, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Yes, me as well. Yes, I'm up for that. Yes.
Cool.
Definitely. If Karen Strawn is watching, or anybody can get word to her, we'll need to get her on board.
I would absolutely love to have her on board.
Yes. She would be that. She would be good to have, but nothing serious though. You know, she does a lot of serious stuff. Yeah. You know, I wouldn't want to do that to her. You know, just to have a bit of a laugh. But if she's up for it.
I've just noticed this comment from Optium67. Laugh my ass off. This guy is holding up a fictionalized account as reality and saying that's how it was, which is ironic given that's what the feminists are doing. And I did preface it by saying this is fictional, but it's a product of its era.
Yes.
They're stupid.
Yes, you did. You were very clear about saying it was a work of fiction, but because of the time it was set in, that would have been how he would have viewed women. So yeah, you were very clear on that. Yes. Maybe you missed you saying it, but.
Well, yeah, obviously, but anyway, yeah, I'd like to let you talk us out, I suppose.
Okay then. Right. Well, I've enjoyed this. Hopefully, we'll do this again. And well, I'll leave it there for now, or we'll leave it there for now. So thank you for listening. Until next time.